Wait, where did you grow up?
Jersey.
Did you really?
Yeah.
I always thought you grew up somewhere more like New Hampshire.
That sounds right. Or like Seattle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got that vibe. Jersey's always tough. Jersey has a weird, like, broad stroke of what people think Jersey is.
Yes.
But then you get such different people that come out of Jersey.
Dude, every time I meet someone in LA and they say they're from Jersey, I instantly get so excited, and not once have I known where the fuck they're talking about. I'm like, where are you from? And like, we just have no idea. It's so separate. I feel like there's like a couple mile radius outside of New York where it's the cliche Jersey stereotype that everyone thinks. And then other than that, like, it's a giant fucking state.
I remember when I was a kid, I remember everyone shitting on Jersey. Because I grew up, when I was a kid, was when the Needles were washing on shore.
Okay, yeah. Not only that, did you guys have the rumor, or was this just a Jersey thing? I remember as a child, everyone said that people were putting AIDS needles in movie theater seats and in payphone change things. And so you just thought like AIDS needles were everywhere, and I was just afraid to touch anything. Dude,
I thought that there was a club called Masquerades.
Okay.
And they changed the name to Massive AIDS.
Perfect.
And it was basically, I'm really frustrated at the way media takes something like AIDS and really stigmatizes it in such a way and lies about it and lies to everyone.
Yeah.
And so that you get to your place now where you realize, and obviously it wasn't this way in the 80s and early 90s, or probably up until like 97 maybe, when Magic Johnson got it. But now it's like a very livable disease. Like it's
Well, number one, when you said that just made like Magic Johnson is essentially the poster boy for like AIDS and being okay, which is like a very bizarre place to be. But that's a really good point, where imagine like trying to live with this like horrible disease and already having the stigma, and then every time you turn on like some like trash local news, it's like, will you get AIDS sitting down at a movie theater? And it's like, fuck.
Dude, it changed the way I had sex because I didn't want to get AIDS.
Right.
And I thought everyone had AIDS. I really sincerely thought one of my best friends growing up had sex with a lot of women. Let's just call him Jeff.
Sure.
You can find him on my Facebook.
Yeah. Under Jeff.
And I was like, dude, you got to slow down. You're going to get AIDS. And I remember him laughing at me. I remember my buddy Hutch going like, bro, you can only get, we're not getting AIDS in Tallahassee.
Right.
Like, it's not happening. It's not.
Like, you guys have the immunity, like.
No, but his theory was like you're not having sex with intravenous drug users.
Right.
Or heroin addicts or having gay sex. It's not going to happen to us. And I remember being like, dude, your thinking is how it spreads. And ultimately, he was 100% right.
That's so funny. Did you ever ask a girl? Like, I know, like, did you ever, like, before you slept with them, were you nervous enough? Were you like, did you like slip it in? Were you like, so AIDS is in the news? Or did you just straight up?
No, I've had such limited sexual activity in my life, mostly because of AIDS. But I heard this thing. Isn't that crazy? That because
the only other person who has said that is someone who has AIDS. Yeah. You're the only person who doesn't have AIDS that is like, I've only slept with 6 people because of AIDS.
Dude, there are gay men that have had more unprotected sex with me, and that was and like I'm just was like, no man, I don't want to get AIDS. I also
I slept after the one of the first. I had that same fear you did. I would literally like touch the movie theater seats. Like I bought into all that shit, but one of the first girls I slept with, because I was just like a sad virgin till I was 17.
By the way, I was a sad virgin too until 17.
Oh, totally. And I was doing a guest spot at the Stress Factory. So I'm like,
when did you start comedy?
I started comedy. I dropped out of high school and started comedy when I was like 17.
You dropped out of high school?
Yeah. So I should have graduated in 2000. So I guess I started in like 99.
Oh my God. I started in 97.
Wow.
I started technically, I'm 45 and I started on my 26th birthday, so I've been doing it 19 years exactly, almost coming up 20 years this year.
Straight? See, I can't tell people I did it that long, because I'm like, the first year I was barely getting spots, and then I had so many like fucking panic attack breaks of like...
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, totally. I disappeared last year, so I'm like, I'll tell people like 14, 15 years, but like technically it's been like a bit longer.
I think you should tell them from when you started to now.
Yeah.
Because then that also references where you're at. Meaning like, because there's guys that they've been only doing it 4 years, but they get up so much. You're like, you've only been doing it. You're
right.
And so then if you go, you've been doing it 4 years, but I only get up twice a week. You're like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Right.
Wait, have you been doing stand up since?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I started doing guest spots at the Stress Factory. Oh my God, wait, we have to get back to you asked a girl if she had AIDS thing. Yeah, because I was so cautious about all that stuff. But then this girl came up to me, and dude, I think she was all of the AIDS things minus like a gay man in the 80s. Like she was hot. That's not an AIDS thing.
No, it was in my book. If you were hot, you probably had AIDS. Like ugly people definitely didn't have AIDS, but I was definitely like hot people. Man, I had such a stigma. I'm gonna obsess about stigma right now because I listened to a podcast yesterday about stigma and how stigma has them placing stigma on things and shame has structured the way we look at things. For instance, addiction, heroin addiction. And it's so funny because I've had friends with drinking problems, and I think people could argue that I drink too much or I have a drinking problem, but I don't really give a fuck. It's my life. I'll do whatever I want to do. As long as my family's cool with where I'm at, I'm cool with where I'm at.
That's a really good way to look at it.
But that's the stigma. Is like people like, I've seen it happen. It's in a weird way. It's the thing you see people go into rehab and then come out and there's a stigma to them. Yeah. I remember there was a guy that was a writer for a sitcom who I was really good friends with.
Chad.
And I will not say his name. And we were at a party and he was like, his wife had struggled with addiction. Yeah. And he had seen her struggle with it and he had been through her struggle with it. And we were at a party and I was like, hey man, what are you drinking? I'll go get you a drink. And he was like, I'm not drinking right now. I said, really? And I was blown away. He was a big drinker. Yeah. He was like, yeah, I'm not drinking. And I was like, why not? And he's like, can I not just drink? And I was like, I'm sorry. Yeah, you totally cannot drink. Like, I'm sorry. I just know that me and you drink all the time. So I just thought you were going to drink too. And so I came back with a drink. He was like, okay, I quit drinking like 6 months ago, but I'm not telling anyone I quit drinking because I don't want that brand of like, if you now have a drink, you fucked up.
One of my friends is a producer out here and she told me that her life insurance was more expensive. She's been sober for like over a decade. But because she was in rehab, they jacked up her life insurance. It was like, motherfucker, she did the right thing. There are more people. And I think that too, when it comes to sex, drugs, suicide, when it comes to all that stuff, it's like, that's why people don't reach out more, is because there is the stigma. Or when you get released from jail and you have no fucking qualifications because you've been in jail for 15 fucking years, and then you come out and you can't get a job because they were like, you're in jail. Well, it's like, well, if jail is truly for what we say it is, which is rehabilitation, you need to give them a chance, or else they're just going to do the shit they're good at.
It's the stigma. It's the fucking, the brand of like, of this is now what you are. Yeah. And I don't subscribe to that. That's why, like, I'm not drinking right now. But that's, by the way, there aren't enough people that understand it. Like, that understand, like, oh yeah, you can go and have a big fucking weekend with your friends and booze morning to night, smoke weed, take mushrooms, whatever you want to do, and then you can come home Monday and be like, I guess on the wagon, or I'm just not drinking because I'm training for a triathlon.
I'm gonna go running. I'm gonna go. Yeah, exactly. This might not be interesting to literally anybody but you, but I quit drinking. Not only did I quit drinking, I wrote an article. Hilariously enough for Jezebel, I wrote an article that like went viral. I went on like NPR about it. This was like a couple years ago about quitting drinking and about also thinking I have like issues with eating, with like binge eating and stuff.
Oh,
and
I definitely have issues with that. Well, I definitely have issues with that.
And it's that same like addictive feeling, right? Like, dude, I have called Chinese restaurants like for delivery and they're like, anything else? And I'm like, I'll order a dessert. And then I'll go, no, wait, I don't want the dessert. And then I'll like hang up and I'll be like, I did it. And then I'll call them back and I'll be like, put it on. So like, but it's those same sort of back and forths. And so I stopped drinking for 3 years. And then I realized that I started drinking again sort of casually. Yeah. And I started training more, which really helped the food stuff.
You were drinking when we were in Arizona, right?
Yes.
And I was not drinking.
And you were not drinking.
And I was fucking bummed.
Yeah, it was so funny. The first time I hung out with you, or the second time I guess technically I hung out with you, you were sober, and then when I did Rogan's show, he was sober too, because it was for Sober October. It was like the trail end of that. And I started drinking again, and I was fine. And there was part of me that realized that I think the reason that, and this is kind of the stigma in another direction. I mean, my mom's like a rager alcoholic. She's been sober for a year, which is great, but like it was really rough growing up. And But I think part of the reason with that is I was so depressed. I had no fucking friends. I wasn't doing stand-up anymore. I was in a marriage that was falling apart. I blame myself for everything. Like, since the high school dropout, it was like the stigma of like, you are the fuck up. You do the bad things.
High school dropout. That's a stigma that comes with that, is like, my buddy Spencer, I'm going to say his full name, and I know he wouldn't like this.
Yeah.
But my buddy Spencer Ford dropped out of high school. No, I'm sorry. Kind of dropped out of high school, I think. Maybe he didn't drop out of high school at all.
Oh, like,
but he didn't go to college.
Okay.
He didn't go to college. He left Jesuit, went to a public high school. I think, God damn it, my fucking memory is so bad. Anyway, he didn't go to college. I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
And then he started a business like 5 years after that. And it is one of the most successful businesses in Tampa, in all of Florida.
Yeah.
Spencer's might be one of my most successful friends I've ever had. And by the way, doesn't party anymore. But just kind of one of those guys that just was like, he didn't go like, I need to get into rehab. And Spencer used to fucking party.
Yeah.
Spencer used to party so fucking hard.
Yeah.
Spencer went to one of my shows one time and got kicked out. And he was so fucking drunk.
Jesus.
Him and Sal up on the top. Anyway, he has the greatest fucking life. I look at his Instagram and he's fishing every weekend with his kids.
Oh my God.
Divorced, but very happily, like amicable divorce.
Fucking divorced,
I think dating.
Yeah.
So like doesn't party. I don't know. I don't think he does anything really anymore, but he fishes.
Yeah, man.
He went back to college, got his master's in like business, and now works still for his company that he started. And I'm like, so I look at him and I go, and then I was partying with, not partying, but me, him, and another really close friend of mine. We're all sitting at a memorial of some sort. It was one of our friends had passed, and I was like, all I could think was I was really sad our friend had passed, and I was like, I'm ready to get a bottle of wine, go down to the beach, and just fucking drink my misery away. Yeah. And Spencer's like, you don't have to. You can just go to bed. I was like, what? Like, there's no rehab talk in this.
No.
And he's like, you can just go to bed. Like, you can just lay in bed and you'll end up falling asleep and you'll wake up in the morning.
And you'll feel better.
Yeah, you'll feel better. You'll feel better than you did at night.
Yeah.
And it'll suck at times, but, and he was just like, super easy, Bert. It's super easy. And I was like, in my head, I was like, no, I know it's super easy. But at the time, I was like, I'm dealing with shit. I don't know if I can deal with it without booze.
Yeah.
And I think I ran my life like that for a little bit. And now I just hear Spencer's head in my voice in my head, like last night, just don't drink. And
yeah,
like,
man.
Oh yeah, I just gotta go to bed.
Yeah, and I think that like being self-aware and being honest with yourself is such a rare quality. But I think when you know things are getting out of control, to be able to pull back.
Yeah.
And like I still do that, where I'm like, oh, I drank for the wrong reason last night. It wasn't like a fun thing. Like, yeah, I was sad or whatever. Yeah. So I'm like, train extra hard this week, or I'm gonna, not drink till the weekend, or whatever. But I used to like Wikipedia all the famous comics who dropped out of high school or who didn't go to college.
Dude,
like,
I do, man. We have so many similarities.
Oh, I know.
I used to judge my success on a timeline the way Tiger Woods judged his against Jack Nicklaus. I'd be like, okay, so Dane got premium blend when he was 20. Oh shit, I'm older than Dane. No, I'm younger than Dane. So I got 1 year to get premium blend. Okay, I got premium blend at the same age Dane got it.
Yeah.
And Dane was like the gold standard when I was coming up in comedy. And I do that with food. We stopped at this place on the ride home yesterday.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I want a cheeseburger, but I'm doing this intermittent fasting.
Oh, yeah, I've just been like reading up on that.
It's a lot like an eating disorder.
That's what it sounds like.
I listened to a fucking podcast. By the way, shout out to all the fucking... I have so many fucking thoughts on this, but like I listened to a podcast the other day where a expert told another expert that I listened to that if you don't eat for 24 hours, you will definitely lose weight.
That's literally what we teach high school girls not to do.
And I'm sitting there going, first of all, no shit. Second of all, this isn't a healthy lifestyle. Oh my God. Like, and I talked to Brendan Schaub about it, and Brendan and I were like, it gets in your fucking head where you're like, I go, yesterday I didn't eat for like 16 hours.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, I'm cool. I was like, I'm going to push it. And then I'm like, all right, I'm at 17 hours. Now I'm at 20 hours.
Which, by the way, that's the addictive personality working in a different direction.
In what you could
You're
claim
trying
is
to be healthy. Right.
But it's not healthy. And then I go to this fucking Shots Roadhouse Bar and Grill.
Yeah.
And I go to get a cheeseburger. I'm like, bro, one cheeseburger is not sustaining this body.
Right.
I'm gonna get 2. I'm gonna get the jalapeno.
Because you're fucking starving.
I'm starving.
Well, that's why whenever I've had to weight cut for like a fight or whatever, I look at like menus. Like I look at menus like it's like porn. So I would assume the same fucking thing would happen.
When I was losing weight for Tom and my weight challenge, all I watched was diners, drive-ins, and dives as porn, as just going like, one day I'll eat that shit. Not now. But get on the treadmill. I'm fucking tearing that
I would
shit
have
up.
the laptop open. My ex-wife would be asleep. I would have the shame glow of like the same kind of Pornhub glow. But it was literally, I was looking at menus of restaurants that I'm going to go to the day after I fight. And I started planning in advance. I mean, I still kind of do that. Like I know what I'm going to have on my cheat day. I know what I'm going to have on a weekend.
I have the shame thing is really an interesting. Shame is such an interesting almost emotion or interaction because secret time. I have when I ran the LA Marathon, I ended up gaining 10 pounds immediately after. I couldn't walk, I couldn't run, I couldn't work out for like a month.
I do that after fights.
And I would not call in my spots to the store because I was embarrassed that I had put on 10 pounds.
Whoa.
And I was afraid that everyone would start looking at me going, oh, the guy's got no self-control.
And then it would go back to...
And then it became really unhealthy. And then I went up one time and I was like, I'm not going to take my shirt off on stage, which by the way, I do anywhere.
Right.
And it makes me feel comfortable. It is genuinely an extension of my personality. It is how I like to do comedy.
Yeah.
And I didn't take my shirt off one night because I was embarrassed.
Whoa.
And I was like, because
you're like the kid who jumped in the pool with a shirt on.
Dude, and it's all we're all ball busters. It's like from every one of my friends. And when I mean friends, I mean like every single one of us. And Whitney would never make fun of me for being overweight, but if we're all in the back and we're all busting balls, of course she will. And why wouldn't she?
Sure.
And so there's a lot of people that I care about their opinions. Segura's always going to make fun of me for being fat.
Yeah.
Even if I am fat, Segura, Tom, and Joe are going to say I'm fat regardless if I'm fat or not. But when I really did gain 10 pounds, I started going, oh, these other people like Dalia or Shab or Callan or any fucking one else, Joey, might really go, oh, he really is getting fat again.
And then you actually would have probably gotten pissed off deep down because
I would have hurt my
of the
feelings.
shame. And exactly.
And that shame fucks with your head because you go, and then you start intermittent fasting and you're like, what am I doing?
I'm hungry. Yeah, I actually heard, and I cannot back this, but I heard from a couple trainers and a couple like nutrition experts that so say you're eating really healthy all week, right? And then you freak out and you're just like, God, I just fucking want pizza and beer. Every time I would go to the store to hang out, that Joe's Pizza down the street, I would like just drive by it and be like, I'm not going to do it tonight. Drive by it. And then I would get, because I wasn't like, I'm a fucking grown ass man and I train like you train, like I'm going to go have 2 slices of pizza. By the time I cave, I'm like, fuck it. And then I have like 6 slices of pizza. I eat 2 of them on the way home, like in the car.
Dude.
And
I ordered 3 fucking pizzas for my family last night because I knew that if I ordered just 2, we might eat all of them.
Yeah.
And I wanted to
you
have
would angrily watch your daughters as they went for another slice, knowing that like you can't have that slice anymore.
Eat your fucking crust.
Yeah, man.
You're not allowed to go back and just eat all the good shit and then leave all the fucking crust.
No.
I want the good shit too, but I'm eating my crust. Be fair. Oh my God.
Yeah. So, but I heard that, and this kind of makes sense, that what jumps up in your body when you're like stressed? Cortisol. Yeah. Where if you are just like fucking self-hating when you're eating the food, if you're just like, I'm a piece of shit, and you start to stress about it.
Wait, I'm sorry. Isn't that called eating?
You mean when you're crying and shaking and shoving pizza down your stupid face?
When you can't stop and you watch your hand go to your face going, stop it. What are you doing?
No, but if you just go, you know what? Today's a fucking night. I'm just going to drink a beer and have this pizza. You might put on less weight because all the like stress endorphins in your body aren't going crazy and like holding on to that fat.
Yeah.
And I like hurt my knee in jiu-jitsu last week and I didn't train and I definitely ate shitty because it was like my birthday and like I was like just feeling crap. Whenever I can't train, I go totally back off the wagon. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to give a fuck about this. I just moved. I'm injured. I've been training hard. I'm just going to enjoy this week. And like, I didn't put on any weight, and I've put on 15 pounds in a weekend, man.
Yeah.
Like you're 10 pounds. Like I put on 15 pounds in a weekend.
Where are you training in jiu-jitsu?
At Henzo Gracie's in LA.
Okay, is that the one out in Torrance?
No, that's Henner and Huron's place.
That's
Yeah. I train Henzo Gracie's. It's like the John Danaher, Gordon Ryan, Gary Tonin extension in LA.
Forgive my ignorance, but Henzo, Helio's the dad.
Helio's the dad.
Who's the one that Henner? No,
Henner and Huron are like the Torrance guys. They're kind of like business.
The two brothers. I fought those guys. And then, I do like how I dropped that. I fought those guys.
I fucked them up.
No, they fucked me up bad. They choked me out.
They're really good.
Yeah, they're really cool.
They're
dudes.
very nice. I like them a lot.
I'd love to have them on the podcast. If they ever want to come out and be on the podcast, I did an episode with them.
I'll text them when I leave. They'll totally do it.
Yeah, I did a episode of Hurt Bert with them, and them and their dad.
Oh yeah,
just choked me out and fucked me up.
Dude, they'll do the podcast on a heartbeat. I feel like they just did like Russell Brand's podcast. Does Russell Brand have a podcast?
Yeah,
I feel like, or maybe they interviewed him. I don't know.
And so, but who did Eddie Bravo tap?
Oh yeah. When Joe was there, it was Hillian Gracie.
No.
It was Hoyler.
Hoyler.
Yeah.
He did the documentary Choke on Hoyler, right?
Yes. Oh no. Choke was Hicks and Gracie.
Okay. Yeah,
so many Gracies, so many R names.
There are so many fucking Gracies.
Dude, they would just like fuck the maids and the wives and they're just like, we have to spread jujitsu, and the wives are like, okay, if it's for jujitsu.
God.
Yeah.
Those guys are pretty badass.
The way jujitsu started, about how literally they would just like put ads in newspapers that were like, think you're tough, come to this corner on the beach, and then they would beat the shit out of the guys using jujitsu, and then they would sign them up for lessons.
I just used jujitsu in a fight last night in a dream.
I got so excited. I was like, back up. There's a fight story.
This guy, I dropped my phone and it broke. And then this black guy came. I don't know. Why does he got to be black in the dream, Bert? I guess I am genuinely fucking racist.
Subconsciously.
I have no fucking idea. But it was a black guy. And he had fucking bowed out arms. Yeah. And he goes, oh, your phone's broken? And he pushed it and broke it more. And I go, bro. And he goes, what are you going to do? What are you going to fucking do? And he threw a punch and I grabbed his arm. And I threw my legs around his arm. And I put him in an arm bar.
You did like a flying arm bar?
I did a flying arm bar and pulled him to the ground. And I go, I watch a lot of podcasts, motherfucker.
My friends are comics, but they're the only ones who do jiu-jitsu.
God.
That's so funny.
Yeah. But how long have you been training jiu-jitsu?
So I started jiu-jitsu because I bombed so bad in Scotland one day. Well, so I did MMA when I was like 17 to like 21 or
that's
something.
Right. I remember you told, yeah.
And then I lived on the road for a while and just completely like derailed and was just drinking and eating crappy and not like even jogging or anything. And then I was back in New York and I went to the Fringe Festival when I was like 28, and they do these things called like late night shows, and late night shows are essentially a way for comics to make a living if they're like losing money, like putting up their like theater shows or whatever. Where
late and live.
You
get paid $600 to do a fucking show.
I think that's where I went. It was in the Gilded Balloon. I used to do all those late night spots. The first year I went over there, I didn't have a show. Provenza was just like, come over, sleep on my couch, and do these like late night spots. So the late night spots are literally either the best shows in your fucking life
or the absolute
or torture.
Dude, I've seen people bomb on those late night shows because it's insane. Because it's like fucking 1 in the morning, 12 at night, and everyone's packed, fucking wasted.
Like 600 people.
Standing room only.
Yep. And they've been drinking all day. They've been watching shows all day, and you never know the mix of comics. Mm-hmm. It'll be, it's all over the place. You never know who you're following. You could be following like someone like Daniel Kitson, or you could be following like a Jimmy Carr or whatever. And the night before I did this show, and you know those shows where you just have one heckler, but everyone's on your side and you just feel like a fucking stud, where like everyone's chanting for them to leave and you're like, I can fucking say anything, like I own this place. And I felt so good. And the next night, right away, before they even liked me, I had a heckler. And I was still sort of like feeling that cockiness from the night before. Yep. And I went after them before they liked me. And suddenly other people started yelling at me and I go, oh, they're on their side. They're on that person's side.
I've done that a few
times.
And
I think I was like 1 or 2 bits in and it was not going well. So I was like, I know what'll like win you guys back. And I just started, I'm like, there must have been a misunderstanding. And I just started doing my set again, verbatim, like word for word. And people just used her like boo from one corner, then boo. And then people went fucking nuts. It was like 0 to 100 where I heard a bottle break, all this stuff. So Long story short, security brings me off stage. He's this huge guy, long beard, brings me off stage. And I wasn't cocky backstage, but I was like, hey, man, I would have been okay. Like, thank you. But like, I would have been fine. Like, I've been booed before. Yeah. And he just goes to me, he goes, I had to take you off because I've never heard such specific threats being shouted. Really? And the word specific was so haunting where it's like, oh, they knew what they wanted to do to me. And so he like escorted me out, and they're in these like castles. So I had to like take these like windy Game of Thrones steps like out of castle. And I was like, I got to learn how to fucking defend myself. And then I got back to New York and I started training again at 28. And then again, addictive personality, even for good stuff when you can harness it right, where I was like, I'm just going to do it once a week. And then I was like, I'm going to do it 3 times a week. And then I was watching all these like 19-year-old stud competitors. I'm like, I'm gonna do it twice a day. Then I was like, I'm gonna fly to Worlds and compete. And then I just went like crazy, really? And just started training all the time. I mean, if I didn't have that, I would be fucking 100% dead.
What belt are you?
I was about to get my brown belt before I left New York, and then I left New York, and then I had to kind of restart. So I got 4 stripes on my purple belt.
What is it? It goes. I just had Eddie Bravo in here the other day, and I asked him the same thing, and he was, and I still.
It goes white, blue, purple, brown, black. So a lot of times in like karate or the other art forms, there's like a million belts, and it's just sort of like, I never liked belts. Like Bruce Lee had this big quote about how like belts are just used to like hold your pants up, and like that's usually the case. But jiu-jitsu, they're so sparse, and there's like years in between where, and you are fighting people every day. That's the thing about martial arts, where it's like, if you're not sparring in the gym, it's probably a garbage martial art. If they go, oh, it's too dangerous to spar, then it's bullshit. Because you have to be able to spar it, and it would be like if someone said they were a comic, but they only did stand up like in front of the mirror. Right?
Oh yeah. No. By the way, I just bit my tongue from saying 9 names right now. Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Is it everyone who says they do Krav Maga?
It's no. I was talking about comedy. It's all the people on Twitter who never really got on stage.
Yes,
and they're really funny on Twitter, but then you go on stage and you're like, oh, it's a different art form. Like you can't deny humor. Like there are really really funny people, but getting on stage is a different sense of humor.
Yeah, and conversely, I'm very bad at Twitter. Just because I'm really ranty and stuff. And the times I've tried to almost like emulate the style of like, okay, so a Twitter joke, it's like shorter, it's like a little weird. Like it's just tanked.
I can never do the whole what's the star?
Oh, the asterix jokes?
When the star sign looks over to his wife in an awkward way and then returns to waiter. I think I'll or whatever. I never was good at
that. I've tried pathetically to do it, and it does not. Doesn't play, man. It doesn't.
I don't. Work. You know what? I'm cool with it. Like I think I use Instagram a little too much lately. My daughters were like, I said to my daughters, we were going up to the top of some mountain yesterday.
I watched all that. I like your Instagram.
Mammoth. People, so many people go, dude, I love your Instagram. Thank you so much. But then I think it's cutting into my life a little bit. So I said to my daughters, and by the way, this is my daughters. Yeah. This is the equivalent of my daughters going, of dad, you drink too much.
Right.
This is my and then that hitting you solid and going, whoa, my daughters say I drink too much.
Yeah.
But they didn't say that. I said to my wife, we saw these 2 girls skiing down the mountain, Mount Mammoth and Mammoth Mountain in bikinis. And I said, Leanne, $10,000 for you to ski down. We're with 8 people, right?
Yeah.
$10,000 for you to ski down Mammoth Mountain and ski down Mammoth Mountain in a bikini. And she goes, no. And I said 50. She goes, don't even give her a number. And I said $100,000. She goes, I'd do it for 100. And I said, really? And she goes, I'd definitely do it for $100,000 probably. And then Georgia said, Dad, $1 million for you to ski down Mammoth Mountain completely naked. And I went, deal. And she goes, hold on, Dad, you can't Instagram it.
Holy shit.
And I was like, well, what's the point of doing it? I literally in my head was like, why would I mean, like, Georgia, you gotta understand, and I started arguing fake fucking bet.
Yeah. What's the point? And then that becomes like a whole metaphor for like your life, or it's like, what's the point if you're not talking into a microphone, or if other people don't see it?
Dude, everyone.
How old is she?
She's 13. Everyone in the fucking gondola was laughing hysterically. Dude. And they're like, there's no way he could not Instagram it.
That's insane.
But it's like, it's so funny because they make fun, like, and my friends make fun of me, like Scarlett and Ari, and Joe are like Joe made fun of me on the podcast the other day. He was like, oh, it's badass Bert ran the Spartan race, except for his fucking selfie stick. He's like, part of me is like, yeah, but you wouldn't have seen the video if I hadn't shot it myself. Yeah. And I enjoy shooting stuff.
Yeah.
I enjoy shooting and editing. I really enjoy editing and making a badass video. I enjoy that shit.
Yeah.
And putting the challenge of of 49 minutes of footage into 1 minute clip where you can watch. That's challenging.
That's cool. Yeah. I can't comment because Joe finally likes me again, so I'm just like, whatever he says, I agree with.
No, I love Joe. I don't.
No, he's great.
I mean, the thing about all my friends is we break balls, and so I don't have a problem being honest. But he was like, all except for the fucking selfie stick. Him, Ari, and Joe and Tom all think I Instagram too much. I selfie, and he goes, "It didn't happen if you didn't Instagram it."
Yeah.
And then when my daughter said it,
I
was like, yeah. But then you get this other side where like someone's like, "Hey man, I love your Instagram." By the way, I like love it, Eliza's Instagram. Yeah. I love it. I love watching her Instagram. I just watched her entire. I got excited. Sounds so silly, but like I got excited waking up to see where she was in Italy.
I get Instagram. I like too because I feel like Twitter is such a toxic. Like when I used to wake up to like angrily tweet, I would open my Twitter and I'm just like, cool. Like 100 strangers just called me a cuck, and like this guy.
You lived on the very opposite side. Totally. Like of not, and I'm definitely not virtue signaling what I do.
Yeah.
But like I do not read comments. I do not reply.
So
I enjoy trying to make funny things on Instagram. Like everyone was making fun of me. We're all fucking ATVing.
Yeah.
And I told all the kids I was taking a piss in the woods, and I thought, it'd be funny if my wife shot a video of me. Of a tree, a big tree at redwood, and then piss coming out behind it, and you couldn't figure out what it was. And then I came around putting my fly up, and I was like, "Hey guys, brand new tour date." And my wife's like, "What do you want me to do?" And then in my head I went, "Oh, it'd be funnier if I put all the kids behind trees." I was like, "Hey, where are you?" And they all peeked their head out at once. And I said, guys, everyone come out in the woods. And my wife's like, are you fucking serious? Are you really going to shoot a video? And I'm like, hey, give me a second. Like, I think you'll think this is funny. Because that's my job.
Well,
that's my only job is to try to be funny.
Yeah, so with that, it's like you're essentially writing sketches, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that you can just like write and test these kind of like sketches or premises on like Instagram is really cool. What I was doing, I can tell you exactly what I was doing. What I was doing is I was fucking depressed. And the reason I was reading the comments is because it was the only validation I would get. So I would wake up every day and I would be like sleeping on the fucking couch, and I would open my computer and I would go to Twitter, and this is I think is still what happens like in political Twitter land, because like I glance at it now but not really, and what happens is you look at the trending topics and you go, okay, who are we pissed off at, who are we gonna like burn down today, right? Okay. And you see it's like, it's Ezra Klein or whoever, and so you don't have time.
I don't know who Ezra Klein is.
He's like a journalist guy. Let's say it's
let's do Roseanne Barr.
Roseanne Barr. Okay. Yeah. So it's Roseanne Barr, right? And she's
trending today.
She's trending today, and it's already it was like the number one trending topic when I opened Twitter today. And everyone is already, especially if you're on the West Coast, everyone has already gotten their Roseanne jokes in or their hot takes in, right? So you go, well, fuck, I don't have time to read the article. I got to just put something together. So you look at everyone else's sort of jokes, and through that, you can kind of be like, okay, everyone's mad because of this tweet, and I'm just going to do this. And then you bang yours out. And so even the times where I tweeted about stuff I cared about, even the times I tweeted a Black Lives Matter thing or something like that, it was still so for the wrong fucking reasons, because if I really cared about it, I would do what you were talking about on Instagram. I would tweet, put it out in the world and be like, cool, hope I did something. But I would sit there and I would just refresh. Who liked it? Did fucking Questlove retweet it? What did a celebrity? And then you get this hit. You get this endorphin hit where once someone famous retweets it, you go, oh, now it's going to get to other famous people. So then you keep retweeting it, and then you look at who retweeted it. And if someone with a verified check mark that doesn't follow you, let's say Alyssa Milano retweeted me once, you suddenly write her and you go, oh, hey, thanks for the retweet, big fan, and then you refresh it. Is she gonna follow me now? And it just becomes it makes up for your shitty real life, and in the process of that, not only are you not making connections, you're not living your own life, but you're also, a lot of times you could be putting out damaging shit because you haven't read the story. You haven't heard another point of view on it. You haven't, Jordan Peterson's a great example, right? Where it's he has some stuff I disagree on, and he says some stuff that makes me want to be like more confident or whatever. Like when I heard him on Rogan's, but
like, what did he say? By the way, and I use Jordan Peterson as an example of like, you don't have to agree with everything a person says.
Yeah, I think he's a great fucking example for that.
I agree with that guy. I don't know how much, but like he says stuff and I go, that's 100% true. And then there's other things where I go, it's a little off. I get, like what was your childhood like?
And that's all okay, and that should be okay. But like before I heard him on Joe's, I legitimately was like, I guess this guy's a Nazi. Like if you read my Twitter, the way they talk about that guy, I literally thought he was just this gigantic hate monger. And yeah, I heard him say like a couple things about like trans people. I'm like, man, I don't like that. But when he's talking about like being confident and like owning your shit and like taking care of yourself and stuff like that, I'm like, I think there are a lot of young men who do need to hear that stuff. I wish it didn't come with the other stuff.
Yeah.
But I get it. And the problem is, I think that when you demonize, like, dude, I couldn't, like, I told this on Rogan's, but I think it's so telling. I mean, I tell this in just conversations where when I knew my old show went off the fucking rails, and I'm taking credit for that, is we got an email. We used to get, like, we talked about politics, but there was a long period
Citizen Radio.
Yeah. There was a long period where I was also talking about like my depression and struggling. And like, I mean, dude, like Robin Williams is one of my best friends. So like we talked about suicide a lot. And like, I mean, dude, Robin was like the guy who I would call when I was depressed. So it's like when the dude helping you with your depression, like kills himself, like fucks you up. And so we talked about a lot of those issues. And we started getting emails being like, I mean, we got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of emails of people who were like, you saved me from suicide. But we also got emails that were like, can like the straight white guy not talk about his problems all the time? Like there's a bit more important things. And I was like, all right. But the specific example I remember, there was this kid who wrote in, a man. And he was like, I went to the doctors and I have 2 kids. And my doctor was like, if I don't lose weight, I'm going to die. And I'm going to leave my fucking kids like without a dad. And I don't know what the fuck to do. So we read it on the show, gave him advice about like diet and stuff like that. Then I got his email and I found him a jiu-jitsu place in Baltimore. I found him like a place to train, right? So he starts training. I forget about him. And we kind of talk back and forth. I'm like, how's it going? Like he'll write me. And a year later-ish, we get this long email being like, you guys saved my life. I lost all this weight. I'm entering my first like tournament as a white belt. Like jiu-jitsu saved me. Like this place is great. Like shout out to his gym or like whatever. It was like the most inspirational email. I'm almost in tears because I'm just like depressed, questioning all my life decisions. Like this all seems to have like worked out. And we end the show and it's great. And I feel fucking incredible. The next day and throughout that week, we got at least 10 emails. And I know that's not a lot, but when like you're reading all that shit, at least 10 emails that said, by reading his email, we were fat shaming other people. Now remember, we weren't like, you have to do jiu-jitsu if you're fat. I mean, we used to give a million caveats every time where we're like, there are healthy people who are bigger boned. There are skinny people who are unhealthy. Like, don't call people fat. Don't be a dick. But just by reading this inspirational story of a dude who was gonna fucking die, these people on the left would rather him die, I guess, then have us talk about something that like involved weight loss. And I think that now when you get a lot of these more right-wing guys who are talking about confidence, who are talking about like be a fucking man, I think the reason that so many young men are attracted to them is because on the left you don't have someone say be a man, because if you say be a man, that's fucking gendered and then you're sexist or whatever. Or if you say go do jiu-jitsu, you're fat shaming. Or if you say, and I think that's unhealthy. Like I think there's a balance. It's like, yeah, don't like shame fat people. Like again, shame and stigma, right? Like they're not going to want to get better. They're going to, the times I felt like shit and like hated my body or had like all that stuff, like I ate more because I said, fuck it. Or if someone calls you an alcoholic, you go, well, I guess I'll play that role, and you go, fuck it. And you drink more. You want to encourage people and you want to help them when they come to you for help.
What is the thing? Cause you lived in, and I remember hanging out with you in Ireland or no,
Amsterdam, right?
A little bit, yeah. And then
I had to follow Hannibal, and I bombed.
Hearing you, on Rogan, from Stanhope, loving you, And then I saw the meltdown with you and Joe and Red Band, and then I saw the
aftermath.
the trolls. I mean, I don't even know if it's trolls or if it's like there were a lot of people that were really emotionally attached to that because I think all of us, me and you have talked about this already, but all of us were like, I always saw you as a comic first, social activist second.
Yeah.
But then I think you flipped it and you were like, no, social activist first, social activist comic.
Yeah. Oh, I can tell you why that happened too. So when I feel like I fail, this is how I used to be. I would just burn it all to the ground instead of being like, I have to work harder at stand-up comedy.
So is that what happened with the Rogan thing?
Yeah, well, so, I mean, that was kind of a different thing where I was at that point. So yeah, kind of. Okay. So the first time I went on Rogan's, it was
Put a pin in this for a second. Hold on. Only because I have a thought. Remind me to ask this thought.
Yeah.
But I want to hear this exactly. But sure. I want to go. I also want to ask after this. I want to say, because there is something about, there is a warm blanket in living in absolutes.
Yes.
My friend, not Tom Segura, I have another friend, Tom, who is a very successful movie producer. And he lives, he doesn't live in a world where he gets an opportunity to be wrong.
Yeah.
So he works very hard and he's always right. And he is always right.
Yeah.
And he lives, we talked about this at lunch the other day. He does live in an absolute where if he's wrong, he needs to be proven wrong. He can't just go, he knows he's going to be right. And it's very warming. He just looks at it and he goes, well, if you don't agree with me, you're an idiot because I know I'm right. I do this for a living. This is what I do. I make shit happen.
Yeah.
I can know how to make shit happen. And I want to talk about absolutes, but I want to go to the Rogan thing. That was really one of the first times I saw the internet, that I witnessed the internet explode.
Yeah, glad I could be a part of that. It was.
It had to be horrifying to be a part of.
Oh, it was a fucking nightmare. Well, I'll tell. Yeah, so I can tell you about that. But so the first time I went on Joe's, it was amazing, and we just became like Twitter buddies. He saw my stand up, and I was a fan of his, and he actually came on Citizen Radio like back in the day, and it was amazing.
I was great on it because you're super intelligent. You're into jiu-jitsu. You're a comic. Like you were awesome when first time I saw you.
I was like, I
hit you up and I was like, dude, great appearance.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And then we hung out in Amsterdam a little bit,
dude, and it was great. Like, and I was like, I was a fan of yours, and that's when things were going well. I feel like there were 2 years that were like the 2 years Jamie was almost famous. And the first time I went on Rogan, it was during that year. It was when I did Amsterdam because I was with your management company. Yeah. And it was the year I did Conan. I did the Green Room. My dad just moved, and he found this old Interview magazine where it was like the 4 comics to watch. And it was this huge photo shoot, and it was fucking Aubrey Plaza, Jay Farrow, Reggie Watts, and me. And I'm like, oh, I'm that guy on the list where you go, oh, what tragic story. No. What happened to that guy?
This is a long fucking look. I'm 45. I've been on that list. I've seen all my friends blow up.
Yeah.
I'm really happy getting success at 45 or 40 years old or 40. I like a little journeyman comic. I like being friends with everyone and everyone being excited that you're doing well. Trust me, you don't want to be the young guy coming out and everyone wants to see them fail. You'd rather be the older guy who's got a family and all I need is like a 5-year run of good money where I can get it, everyone's set up and I can take care and fucking cruise into the sunset.
I gotta tell you, man, that actually is one of the reasons I really like your Instagram and I follow it, is like you're funny. Like I'm a fan of your comedy, but also like that setup, man, is like, that's what because when I was young and wanted all this, it was just like, it's like I wanted like girls and fame and recognition. But now it's just like, I just want to tell jokes and like have a family one day and like live in a place like this and get to hang out with my friends and make cool shit.
I want to make cool shit. I want to do cool stand-up. I want people to like my stand. I want my friends to be like, dude, I like that bit.
Yes.
Like Tripoli the other night was like, bro, I love your new stuff. And I'm like, oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Like that means a lot to me. It means
Sam's
a great
really
deal.
helped me since I've like come back.
He's the greatest. But see, like
dude.
Sam and I we're like, dude, Sam and I and Ari are like brothers in this, in that we're all finding success later in life and not one person begrudges it.
Yeah.
Everyone's like good.
Oh, dude, I remember.
I mean, I'm sure there's people that hate us, but like.
No, but I know what you mean. And like, I remember I feel like I had this moment where I chose political activism over comedy, where Rogan hooked me up with seats to the UFC. And I was with someone, a buzzkilly kind of like journalist type. And I guess he had Ari and Joey next to me. And I didn't know Ari and Joey. And, I think Joey was like, yo, what's up, dog? You want sesame seeds? And like went to hand me sesame seeds. And I was like, I want to hang out with the comics so bad. I want to hang out with the comics. And like the person I was with just kind of looked like grossed out and was like, come on. And I was like, and I probably missed the greatest night of my life.
You definitely
hanging
did.
out with Joey and Ari at the fights, who just like would disappear and come back. And I was like, I bet they're smoking weed and having so much fun.
Oh, so go back to the Rogan.
Okay, yeah. So I go on and it's good. And I have this year, but I feel like I didn't have the balls to keep going. Like, so I had this year where, you know, I went from dropping out of high school. I lived out of my car for 2 years, like doing gigs at like coffee houses because I wasn't getting booked in New York. Stanhope was like the first guy to let me open for him. But I was never gonna like be able to like be like one of his like staples, you know, like who like go and like live on the road and like fucking do blow together.
I would definitely, by the way, Family Dies, I could go outdoor stand-up.
Family Dies, that's the thing.
Family Dies, I move into with stand-up.
Yeah.
I don't even tell him. I just show up with a bag and a dog. Just one dog. I'm leaving the other dog.
Going on tour stand-up, that's like the equivalent of like the action movie where like the family gets murdered and then he's going for the revenge.
Yeah, I bet Doug hears this. By the way, I'm pod calling Doug right now. I bet Doug hears this and goes, hold on. Your family's got to die in order for you to live with me? So that's how you see me, is like your family's dead.
Yeah.
Now I get to move in.
You're my last resort.
Thanks, Bert. I can't wait to hang out with the dead family guy.
Oh, I'm sure it'll be a real party when you're crying looking at pictures of your daughter every day.
Poor Stanhope, then he's like, wait, hold on. I have good times too. So wait, you're coming here to die? No, but yeah, but I
know what you mean.
Yeah.
I totally know what you mean.
So keep going. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. And then, and you know, like Marin used to take me out to open. It was when he was like going through his divorce. So like that was pretty rocky. I used to get like we would be so good and we would hang out all day and I idolized Mark. Holy shit, I idolized him. And then I would get on stage and like, he already doesn't like me. I guess I might as well say this. I would like have like a good set and he would just be like, oh, you're trying to be fucking Stanhope. This is ridiculous. And he would just like yell at me and then leave. And then the next morning I'd get a voicemail like, hey man, it's Mark. Sorry about last night. Yeah. And like, that was it. So like
Mark's got a, look, by the way, I love Mark.
Oh, he's one of the best comics on the planet.
He's got a biting conversational tone with every single person.
It's so scary.
Where he says things where you go like, fuck. I wish I hadn't spoken out loud in front of Mark.
Yeah.
But he's just so. But he doesn't mean it out of hate or meanness. But he just is too. He's like my wife. Like they just say shit, and they mean it, and they don't mince words.
And I also have that.
I respect that.
Yeah, and I also have like the dad issue thing on top of it with him, especially because like he was the first guy who like saw me at the Boston and like took me out and like, you know, he was like one of my favorite comics coming up, and.
So let's go back to Rogan.
So Daniel.
So for those of you who don't know, Jamie goes on Rogan like twice, I think, before the third. Was it third one?
I think so. Yeah, I think it was the third one.
And it was great. It was great. There was, by the way, this is the beauty of Joe's podcast. It's a 3-hour hang.
Yeah.
And so you really feel like you get to know people. And back then, it was a 3-hour, like it was sometimes a 5-hour fucking hang.
Just like,
and it was it was out of his house and then out of Death Squad Studios.
I did both. Yeah, I did out of his house and I think I did like the fucking the
Ice House.
Yeah, the Ice House. That's
right. And then Tosh says a rape joke. Now, real quick, I want to just say my view about rape jokes, and only because there was a part of you in your defense that I did agree with.
Yeah.
But I didn't agree with. Like,
yeah.
I always defend comics. Even if I don't like them, I defend comics always through and through.
And by the way, since I've been hanging out with comics again after being like, you know, on the verge of suicide and all this stuff, and hearing people be like, yeah, of course I got your back. You're a fucking comic. Yeah. Like, those words to me have never meant more, and it's definitely made me be like, I mean, I've learned a lot from all this, but just being like, fuck, I missed that, you know, because comics, especially with like, there was a phase where it seemed like it was like comedy versus the left, and it's
by the way, it's still going on.
I'm sure,
really hard right now,
and so
it's like Owen Benjamin. By the way, I do not agree with Owen's politics.
Yeah.
Almost across the board. But I love Owen. And I've always got his back.
Well,
I've always got his back. Even like when he says the most crazy fucking things, I'll even go, I don't agree with him. But man, he's my buddy.
Yeah.
If I'm looking for a morning beer, or if I'm looking for an afternoon beer, or if I want a conversation about fucking just fucked up shit, if I want to throw shit against a wall, I know Owen's Owen's supportive. He's my friend. He's not going to fucking judge me. He's a really sweet, great fucking guy.
Oh, and by the way, the journalists on the left who talk about like how we have to all be kind to each other and stuff like that, you say the wrong thing on Twitter, they won't even call to make sure you're okay before they fucking hashtag you and attack you.
Oh, yeah.
So like,
and I've seen that happen to Owen, like loses Twitter, loses YouTube, loses, I mean, just, and in a weird way you go, yeah, he is saying fucked up shit. And yeah, he is going after, he is trolling people. He's a part of what you talked about.
Well, and a lot of that is coming from, in my opinion, and like, that feeling burnt, you know, where I watch him and I go, oh, I know what you're doing, because that's what I did, where it's, you're going to burn me. Okay. I'm going to double the fuck down, and I'm going to triple down.
Yeah.
And, you know, but I spent so long demonizing comics after I felt that like everyone hated me, that to come back to comedy after having all of the inclusive like journalists who like I helped and I got on TV and I lent money and all this stuff just completely shit all over me, and having comics, you know, like you, like people who I really like admire artistically too, be like, dude, you're a comic, like of course we're gonna like take you back and we want you to be okay and stuff like that. I was like, I do regret that. I do regret having demonized comics for so long.
It's easy to I believe, this is my, don't worry guys, we'll get to this story.
Oh yeah.
I believe it's easy to demonize comics from a journalistic point or a vlogger point or a blogger, or not vlogger, but a blogger point.
Yeah.
Like, and by the way, I'm going to say her name, Lindy West. I enjoy reading her stuff.
We were friends.
I think that there is a lot of negativity that comes into her life via Twitter that she should get rid of.
She did. She's off Twitter.
Oh, then that's
she got off Twitter like last year, and it's probably
really great.
And like since then has gotten like a movie deal.
Yeah, she's a really smart.
She's a great writer.
Fucking really like. And by the way, I don't say that like because she's a girl, but like she's just as a person.
Sure.
She's really smart. She's really fucking insightful. I was going through a fat shaming thing when she shared about on NPR about being overweight, and I was like, it really connected with me. Now I know Lindy West. I've asked her to be on my podcast. She said no. Or she's like, nah, or whatever. I get it. I totally understand it. I think people like that, it's easy to demonize comics because we really do have the freedom. We allow ourselves in our community the freedom to do whatever we want, to say whatever we want. And that's super scary for people who have polarized themselves and can only say what their party allows them to say.
Yeah.
And if they go off brand, they get attacked.
Yep.
And so it's got to be scary to go like, oh, this guy can make a rape joke. He can make a cancer joke. He can make a molestation joke.
Yep.
He can make a joke about his kids. He can make a joke about his parents.
He can combine all those, and that's his closer.
Yeah. And now to get back on brand to this story we're talking about.
Yeah.
I made one rape joke one time.
Oh yeah.
I've made a few probably in my life, but I made one time, and I thought it really worked, and I was really proud of myself because as a comic, there is this like you want to
you can pull it off that like off limits topic. Yeah.
You want to be the 13-year-old in your village that goes out into the woods the deepest and comes back with the biggest lion, and
i.e. a really good rape joke.
Yeah. In a weird way.
Yeah, I get it.
It's like when like Burr's got a joke right now that's killing, and everyone's like, bro, I never thought of that angle in on that.
Right.
So
when
like
you can take like the Me Too, or you can take this something that like was like, well, you can't touch that, and it's like, oh, I'm going to, and it'll be great, and everyone will like me.
Yeah. And so I had this joke, and I won't even tell it because of what I'm going to say.
Okay.
And so I get off stage, and I'm bubbling, and I look at Matt Fultron and I go, dude, did you hear that fucking rape joke? And he's like, I did. I go, dude, it fucking killed. And he's like, it really did. I go, I can't believe it. I love that joke. And he goes, it's a great joke, except for the one chick in here that you fucked her night up because she was straight up raped. And I was like, hey, what's up, Ray? Yeah. Hang on 1 second, okay? I'm going to have to unlock my back gate.
Yeah, it's okay.
Give me 1 second. And so as soon as he said that to me, I went, okay. And I had to think, what is my comedy about for me?
Yeah.
Is it about being the 13-year-old that goes out and finds the biggest lion?
Right.
Or is it just like making sure you get to eat at the end of the night?
Oh.
And I was like, my job is not to really challenge, and I want to just have a good fucking time, and I want to tell jokes, and I will tell whatever joke I choose funny, but I do not enjoy when someone comes out of my show, and it's happened more often than I care to think, and you realize, oh, I just fucked their night up. Like I really kind of like brought up shit that I didn't. That's kind
of where I'm at too now. Yeah.
Give me 1 second to unlock my gate. Hold on.
Yeah. Are you pausing or do I vamp?
No. Vamp it up.
Jamie Kilstein Podcast on iTunes and Stitcher. I'm so sorry. He has to go unlock that.
I have no idea what he's doing. The gardener's never come up to the door and said, I need you to do something.
I know. I have to piss too, and I was like, that'll be my opportunity, but I also don't want to leave you here stranded. What if you vamp?
No, it's okay. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
It's your podcast, man.
Interesting. Oh, here he comes.
All right, I'm back.
Nice.
So
we nailed it.
But in the Tosh thing, just to keep everyone up to speed, he said, you know, someone said in the audience, and this is where all comics got behind his back. Someone said in the audience, tell a rape joke. And he's, that's hilarious. The degradation, the whatchamacallit.
The shame.
Oh yeah, I'll do that. And then someone's like, you're never allowed to tell a rape joke. And he was like, well, wouldn't it be funny if 5 guys came in and raped you right now? Yeah. He's improving. It's not a joke that he wrote. It's him trying to work crowds.
Yeah.
It got vlogged or blogged. Blew up. And then you went on Joe and
well, so let me, like, a couple prefaces to this. And
again, please preface all of it.
So this goes back to what we were talking about on Twitter. That part, when I the most recent time I went on Joe's, which was a fucking blast and like so cathartic, a couple months ago.
I want to talk about that a little bit because it had to be like, it was, especially for someone like, and I'm the same way, similar to you. Is validation does mean a great deal to me. I think that's why I do stand-up comedy. I come up with an idea and I ask it to be validated by people.
Yeah, of course.
But that validation of going back on Joe's must have been.
It was a lot. Yeah, and
remind me to talk about that. All right, let's get to the preface.
Yeah. So I go. So we didn't talk about it too much, but we did recap it. And when Joe said that part about the shame and the, my side didn't get that part. I didn't hear that part when I went on fucking MSNBC and when I went on Rogan's. Here's all I heard was the lefty headline, which is Daniel Tosh says it would be funny if girl gets raped 5 times, girl runs out crying. And so it seemed like that part it seemed like, I mean, the girl still like heckled, right? And was like, rape isn't funny. And then he said that, but that's all it seemed like. Again, not, I mean, the way I've definitely like changed my views on a lot of that stuff, but I didn't even get that first part where actually
you're like, now I think rape's hilarious.
Now it's so my whole set is only rape jokes. It's knock knock rape jokes. It's riddles about rape.
Knock knock, who's there? Rape. Oh wait,
rape. Run.
Knock knock, door opens. Who's there? It's rape.
Imitations of rape, guys. It's quality stuff. If
knock knock, it's rape.
It's rape.
By the way, once again, I just said I don't tell rape jokes, and here I am. I'm a hypocrite up and down. Don't ever fucking listen to anything I say, anybody listening. I am a fucking hypocrite, fucking asshole. Fucking here I am just saying I would never tell a rape joke, and now I'm improving knock knock. Because,
to be fair, knock knock rape jokes.
Knock knock rape jokes are completely acceptable.
Yeah. And so I didn't get that part. And actually, like, when you think about that, and I've just heard like, God, I want to get Tosh on my podcast and just talk about, like, I've heard
that'll never happen.
No, of course.
He's not even doing anybody's.
No, yeah, let alone like the new podcast of the guy who shit on him. But I've heard he's a really smart comic and a really smart dude.
Amazingly smart.
And that first half of it is actually like really subversive, right? Where it's like, oh, here's what's funny about rape, the shame that, like, that's actually a very progressive, not that it fucking matters, but if you want to look at it that way, it's actually a really progressive joke. And then you get the heckler, and then, you know, I mean, Jesus Christ, you know how many like women I've probably been like, suck my fucking dick if they heckled. Like, if there used to be like footage of that, like all over the place, where it's like you don't really become like a gendered Smith graduate when you're being heckled. You turn into like a fucking animal comic, right?
God made your mouth for one thing, honey, and it's not talking. Yeah. I've said that like you did too early in the set and lost the whole fucking room. Yeah,
dude, if you put fucking like Noam Chomsky Chomsky on a stand-up stage and he got heckled, it'd be like, you fucking cunt.
I wish I knew who Noam Chomsky is.
Oh, he's just this like old man intellectual. It's a good image if you did know. I will say that.
I know what he looks like, and I know that he's someone that Jenny Garofalo likes.
That's all you need.
But I just don't know what he did really.
I'll be honest with you, Bert. That pretty much covers it. Okay. Jenny Garofalo likes him, and he's an old guy.
Well, that stinks that your side would not. And I say your side. By the way, I'm fucking liberal, but like,
I know.
But that the far right left wouldn't get all the other parts.
Who knows if it's even nefarious? Who knows if it was there and I just didn't read it? Like, it also could have been my fault. It could have been, again, that headline culture. You read a headline and you go, oh, all right, Daniel Tosh said to get fucking raped 5 times. I don't need to read that article. I have my opinion because I see what all of my friends are saying. I see what my tribe is saying. So I'm going to go along with my tribe, right?
I do that.
And at this point,
I do that. I'm fucking intermittent fasting because my tribe says to do it.
Yes. Dude, I almost did it. I've sort of like started like toying with it because it's like, yeah, that's what everyone's doing.
Yeah, I'm listening to Joe, and then Ben Greenfield's like definitely intermittent fast, and then fucking Zach Bitter's like intermittent fasting isn't bad, and then I'm eating just meat and intermittent fasting. But you're right, I'm not. Sometimes, and I'm just saying this for the listener. Sometimes your tribe says something, and it fits into your agenda.
Yep.
Because in my head I go, okay, I do have a problem with food, but I can definitely not eat until fucking noon. I can do that. I can stop eating at 8 and not eat till noon. I can do that shit.
Yeah.
And so it fits in. You're right. And so you've got your agenda in your head, and then Joe's like, we should talk about it, right?
Yeah. And then you put Twitter on top of it, and you go, oh, I'm going to post about it, and I'm going to get a bunch of likes, and I'm going to have like famous people retweet me.
That's the crazy thing. There's a guy, I won't say his name. I've actually called him out before. He's an actor.
Yeah.
But I don't even know if he's actually liberal. Only because I've seen some of his work, and he's been a part of stuff that is not technically PC.
Yeah, sure.
But man, he virtue signals like a motherfucker.
Yeah.
And it's that almost, and by the virtue signal, for those who don't know, is basically saying stuff everyone agrees with.
Yeah.
Just so that they go, I'm a good person. Yeah. And virtue signaling drives me nuts because I'm like, there are more varied opinions of things.
Yeah. And you know, and it's harder, and it takes more work, and it takes more research, and you know, so to go back to the Joe thing, the reason I was sort of starting to give my backstory of failure was because by the time I went back on that show, our podcast was doing fucking great, and I had those that year that I met you. And you know,
it was a great year.
Judy fired me, and around the Tosh thing, I've never been fired by managers.
Really?
Yeah. I got fired, and Montreal was technically great. I think I was the first. Well, Robbie at the time said I had to this day, the worst audition. I mean, I haven't talked to him in years, but to that day, whenever it was, worst audition they ever. I like booed off stage at the comic strip for my first Montreal audition. Then I think 1 or 2 years later, I got New Faces. Listen to this. I got fucking New Faces. And then the next year, I was the first guy to get a one-man show right after New Faces. And it was in this little theater. And it was Bert, Patrice, and me. We were the 3 shows at that theater. Like, it was actually like, oh, I'm up here with my heroes. Like, I'm going to be somebody.
That's intoxicating.
It's intoxicating. And then nothing happened. And I probably should have been way more patient, but nothing happened. And I kind of plateaued. And I still wasn't getting booked at clubs because I think people thought I was like really political. I was doing really well overseas. And overseas, any American comic that talks about politics, they compare to Bill Hicks. So now I'm like reading all this stuff as comparing me to Bill Hicks. So I fucking double down. I'm like, oh, you don't like me? Fuck you. Like, fuck comedy clubs. Like,
sometimes I wish to God that I could not care about funny and double down on that shit. Like where you look at political comics sometimes where you're like I would look at some comics online and I go, they're not being funny, they're just saying the thing that everyone's agreeing with at the moment. And I would love to just double down and go, you know what, I don't care about being funny. Like what you just said, fuck you.
Yeah,
this is what I believe about abortion. I'm glad that Ireland got rid of abortion.
Well, and I see comics doing that now, and it's like bittersweet for me because I go, that's not funny, and I go, fuck, that's what I did.
Dude, Jesus Christ, that's what I did. Perspective, and this is, everyone's slamming. We're gonna get to the story. Everyone's slamming Louis and saying that he shouldn't have a comeback. He shouldn't be allowed to come back. And really good friends of mine that are females, I understand, but ones that it just is weird that they're like, he shouldn't be allowed to come back, or if he is, they're interested in what type of person would support him, being like, hey, comics, are you going to support him? Yeah, I will. I definitely will. He was very nice to me. He never jacked off in front of me. I wouldn't have minded.
I also love that when I've done interviews and talked about comedy, Louis C.K. is such a fucking good comic that even with everything he went through, people, like, when you're talking about comedy or comedy advice, it's like, yeah, it's like Louis said. I mean, before like the jerk off thing, but they still have to quote him because. But
I can't wait to hear Louis' perspective, and he has to, and so does Aziz. By the way,
and also, like, again, if we believe in rehabilitation, right? If we believe in that, if that's what, but the left, that's one of our big issues is like the prison industrial complex, and we need to rehabilitate people and stuff. Why is it? Why can't he be rehabilitated? Why can't he say, you know, what I did was like fucked up. I didn't think it was wrong. Whatever, blah, 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 blah. And then why can't we support someone coming back and being like, yeah, I'm going to do better. Yeah. Like, I didn't know that. You know, I wasn't thinking like that. I wasn't.
That's why I was so excited when you decided to get back into comedy, when all the things happened with you and you were like, and you showed up at the festival and you're like, I'm so back scared. In comedy. I was so like, scared. All of us were like, fuck yeah, dude. Congratulations.
Yeah.
This is what our clan does. Wrong choice of words, clan, but this is what our
band of racists.
This is what our group of fuck ups do.
Yeah,
is we always show back up on stage, and we always support us coming back on stage. You shoot your car, you light yourself on fire, you fucking hit your wife, all the fucking bad things Richard Pryor did.
Yeah,
he brought back on stage. He was like, all right, I'm back.
Well, you know what's a really interesting example is Letterman, where. If the Letterman thing happened in Me Too, Letterman would be. It's essentially what a lot of people. What
happened to Letterman?
Well, he was having a consensual affair. He was cheating with his like secretary or somebody, below him. He was their superior, and I mean, it fits into a lot of the Me Too narratives. And then I think she tried to like fucking blackmail him or something. But he came back on stage and did a monologue, and I think killed. Apologizing and stuff like that, and now he's interviewing Barack Obama. He just got the Mark Twain Award. Like, it's really interesting who we selectively pick to demonize and to be like, you are never going to come back, and who we kind of give a pass to. So yeah, that's been really, and I mean the Letterman show, it's fucking great. Like, I've been watching the Netflix show.
The Tina Fey one was really good. I haven't seen all of them.
I saw the Obama one and the Tina Fey one. That was it. I think there's a Howard Stern one coming up, which I really want to see.
Great. I really want to see. So wait, so go back. Like, I'm fascinated. So your stand-up kind of plateaus in your.
So my stand-up plateaus.
Citizen, you do Rogan a couple times.
Yep.
Citizen Radio is blowing up. It is blowing up at the time. I remember listening. I was a subscriber.
That's insane. And when we first started, we were political, but it was comedy.
Yeah.
My ex, she wasn't a journalist yet, and so the only people we were getting were fans of my stand-up. So I would go to Australia, and suddenly, like, our Australian, and it was a lot of international people because I wasn't getting paid here, so I would go to Australia for a month. I mean, dude, I played the fucking Sydney Opera House and couldn't get booked at like the comic strip. Like, I just was failing here, and I would go overseas, etc. But
a lot of this was a lot of what you found is when you're doubling down on politics was, and I find
that's when the celebrities like me. That's when,
and it's that retweet culture.
Yeah, man.
Where you're like, where you say the thing that you think the people that also like. Yeah. I find
the
that
tweets
really
are like designed in a fucking factory to make liberal celebrities like you. And so it's like a Mad Libs.
So in a weird way, are you taking that energy into that third appearance with Rogan?
Yes, and. Because at that point, I didn't really have comic friends, and I wasn't playing at comedy clubs. And part of it is because I wasn't getting booked, but another part of it, if I'm being like totally honest, was I started to do these little shows for just like my Citizen Radio fans, and maybe there'd be 50 people, or if I played like UCB, like a little over 100 people. And it was all people who agreed, and I never had fucking 600 Scottish hecklers shouting very specific threats at me. And I was crushing. And if someone was like, hey, do you want to do a spot at like Stand Up New York? I'd be like, why? Comics don't really like me. I'm not going to get like I could only go there and fail.
Yeah.
Forgetting about all the advice I would give to people and, you know, what I say when I teach jujitsu, where it's like the days you get your ass kicked, those are the days you get stronger, right?
Yeah.
But I was getting validation finally. And I was like, oh, I don't want to ruin that, because I have sought out validation my whole life and I'm not getting it in my relationships. I'm not getting it by my friends. Like at that point I was like not really talking to my family. Like I totally had just distance myself from everybody. So why would I go to like stand up New York? Why would I would get anxiety walking by the Comedy Cellar. Know, just because I was like, I knew Metzger didn't like me, or I knew, you know, whatever. And we're like friends now.
Yeah.
But
I remember that time.
Yeah. And so I would just get nervous, and that's when I would start to sort of demonize comics. And I'm like, well, I have these people that like love me, and I had a great career for the first time. Like we were making a ton of money for the first time in my fucking life. And so I go on Joe's, and I don't expect it at all. Like I told this story on Stan Hopes, but I feel like it's worth pointing out. At that point, that's when I was sober, when I went on Joe's. And Joe was like, do you want to smoke? And I would still get really like at that time, I still got really like starstruck around Joe. So I was like, yeah, you got to smoke with Joe Rogan, right? So after being sober for 3 years, no pot, no whatever, we fucking, me, him, and I think Red Band, we all smoked. And so I was...
And it's high-end California weed. At the time, weed is not recreational, is just medicinal.
Yes, and I was used to my
because I've been there. I've gotten high with Joe.
Oh, okay.
I've gotten high with Joe where all
it's
of a sudden...
not fun.
No, it's a blast. I love it.
Not for me.
And you're listening to yourself in your headsets going, am I listening to the podcast or am I doing the podcast?
Yeah.
I've been there a few times.
Dude, I remember like weed. I used to smoke weed all the time in Jersey, but it was so bad where if I got high, I was like, this is laced. Like it was either shitty weed or like laced fucking weed. And then I got to California and I smoked with Joe, and I used to go from... I've turned into that cliche where I used to smoke and be like, I love everybody, this is great. And now I smoke, I'm like, everyone hates me, this is awful. So I am super high during that interview, which a lot of people don't know. And I think that it's gonna be like the other shows. I don't see anything confrontational happening. So I said on Doug's, I'm like, this should be an anti-drug commercial. Is just like me smoking pot with Joe, being like, this is going to be great. And then cut to 10 minutes later, Joe is standing up screaming, would you rather be raped or murdered? And then it just says, don't do drugs.
That was a really interesting question, though, because I would much rather be raped than murdered. The whole time I was watching that going, I definitely would rather be raped than murdered. I'd definitely rather be
But Bert, now imagine being so high and one of your idols is screaming, would you rather be raped or murdered? And I'm like, neither, man. I'd rather figure out what led me to make this decision. And like, yeah.
Would you rather be raped or murdered?
Oh my God, it was so fucking scary. So I had this moment. So I go on MSNBC because they just call like progressive comics. And they're like, we're going to talk about the Daniel Tosh rape thing. And, you know, I don't even think Rogan saw it or whatever. And the points I made, even though, you know, I've obviously become a comedy first person, the points I made were not the worst points in the world. I wasn't like, I think people should be censored. Some topics are off limits. I essentially said your story, not quoting you, but like, look, man, like 1 in 6 women, 1 in 4 probably have been raped. And I'm like, I don't want to be the guy telling that joke. I said, you have the right to make a rape joke, but then we also have the free speech to like attack your rape. Right. Like free speech works in both directions. I was like, no one's really in the crowd being like, I hope he goes after like chicks who are raped. Like it was pretty innocuous, like what I said. But
I'll tell you in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I listened to that and I liked it.
The what? The MSNBC one?
No. When you on Rogan,
the Rogan thing. Yeah,
you were talking about MSNBC, but
yeah.
I enjoyed that back and forth, and I enjoyed it a lot. And so, like, I didn't really have a problem with anything you said.
Well, that's kind of how I felt. But then
a lot of people did have problems with what you said. But I think it was the going on Citizen Radio.
So that's what happened. That's the
thing. By the way, I've heard people on Joe's podcast not agree with Joe, and you guys were arguing statistics that I wasn't researching. I wasn't looking up at the time.
Yeah.
1 in 6, and he was like, that seems like a lot.
Yeah.
And by the way, that seemed like a lot to me.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it is a lot. It's fucking terrible.
But even still, he was like, I think it's less, and then. It was an interesting back and forth, and that's what I think I love about Joe's podcast is he does have fucking really interesting conversations on there.
So now take that, because I agree with you. Take that though, and
knowing that you're high as fuck.
Knowing that I'm high as fuck, I didn't expect it. I don't know who the fuck Redban is. I'm just like, who is this guy? Like he's mad at me, and I thought we were just talking in the parking lot when he was like smoking, and I had put myself in this world where, like your buddy, like no one disagreed with me because I never said anything that could be disagreed with. Yeah. So it is scary, and I'm not looking at it as, and this, maybe I sound like a baby, but again, hi Jamie at the time is just like, why is my friend yelling at me? Was this like a setup or an ambush? And all of my fears about comics all hating me and all this stuff is just being like validated.
Yeah.
And then, I remember Joe at one point was like, yeah, don't tweet him. And I just see my phone just blowing up. My Twitter got hacked and someone just wrote like rape all over it.
That's another thing I want to ask you about. But did that happen before?
That happened right after.
Right after?
Right after. I was just getting, so here are my options, right? And then I have my fans writing me who were just like, what the fuck? Like, are you gonna go after him? Or are you gonna whatever? So now I have these two choices. Oh, dude, this was fucked up. This is not gonna be popular. The first text I got when I got to the car was like, Liz Winstead, who I knew from New York, and she's like, why didn't you stick up for me? And I was like, I don't know, because I was being fucking screamed at, and I have like 1,000 rape threats right now, and I was stoned, and I didn't know what was happening, and I'm like, I don't even remember him bringing you up.
Now that you say that, I remember Liz ran. By the way, I'm friends with Liz. I like Liz a lot.
She was nothing but nice to me in New York,
and she was not. She was the first like executive, I guess, I met. She was running the Daily Show, and Dimitri Martin brought me up to the top to meet her in her office. And he was like, hey, this is Bert Kreischer. He was the #1 party animal in the country at Florida State. And you guys wrote a joke about him. She was like, we did? Is it okay? And I went, no, it was funny. And she was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm starting comedy. She's like, good luck. If you ever, very sweet.
Oh.
And so I'd run into Liz I ran into Liz at Crunch one time with Sarah Silverman.
Yeah.
And to the point where I follow Liz, and at one point I didn't, I guess, sometimes Twitter unfollows people.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I realized I wasn't following her. I followed her again, and she messaged me, and she's like, I'm so sorry. Did I offend you or something? I was like, no, Liz, I just simply, it just unfollowed you.
The only reason I bring that up is because I wanted to give an example of like, I was getting it from all sides, and I was sitting in the parking lot by the ice house, shaking and being like, I don't know what to fucking do. So then I get home,
because that is this. I think that is something that needs to be said even clearer. Is that you have all the Death Squad, and this is when Death Squad was centralized.
Death
Squad. Yeah. Death Squad was. Death Squad was thick.
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah.
Death Squad meetups in Ohio. I remember Death Squad. All you said. When you see a guy with a Death Squad shirt on, you just go Death Squad for life.
Whoa,
dude,
Jesus.
Dude, I loved it. It was the funnest time of my career. Is that it was this real underground movement that
sounds like fucking Fight Club,
dude. It was like Death Squad for life.
Yeah,
and you give like a hard hug to a guy with a big beard, and cool shoes, and a fucking, and they always give you a heavy handshake.
Yeah,
they always made sure you had weed when you came to their town.
Yeah, you know who they didn't? Me. They did not.
There was a little bit of hilarity in the fact.
Oh my God.
I know it must have really sucked from your side, but they're like, yo, apparently Anonymous is in Death Squad. And we're like, what? And they're like, they hacked Jamie's account. Like, Joe was like, give it back,
Oh, did he? I didn't even know that.
I think he said it on a podcast. He was like, listen, whatever you guys did to Jamie, make it stop. He's a good guy.
Dude, I remember getting an email from the guy who hacked, and he was like, I hope you learned your lesson. And I was just like, thank you, sir. Like, it was just so beaten down.
Dude, that was the weirdest part, is like, that's when you it was like, holy shit. Yeah. But you have Death Squad on one side, and then you have Liz Winstead, who I'm not going to speak for Joe, but I think he told a story about Liz.
Oh, that's right. Like being the MC at a show.
In her early times with Joe in his early times, and it was very isolating. It is still, I think, what happens a lot. And you have
comics hold on to that shit about like the comic who's like
definitely
shitty to them. No matter who
do.
they become, like as an adult, it's just like, I remember you. I remember when you were mean to me when I was an open micer.
And then you have the progressive side attacking you, going, why didn't you do this better?
Yes, and what are you going to say on your show? So the option was, And remember, I never wanted to be, there was still a part of me that loved comedy. I never wanted to have the show where we just talk about comics who are offensive or we talk about whatever, but it's like, that's where my group started to go. So that's what we started to talk about. And we started at that time, like the comedy fans were less and less and the political fans were more and more, and your audience shapes what you talk about. And, so I had that choice to make. And I'm like,
they do if you listen.
Yes.
If you don't listen and you just, and I think it's also,
and that's how you cultivate the audience you want.
Yeah.
Is you don't listen and you just go, if you like me, you'll listen.
Like people told me a long time ago, stop telling the machine story. But I was like, I feel like when I get there, people want to hear it.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep I'm going to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
And if I choose to tell that in the last 15 minutes of my hour 15 show and do an hour new material, that's totally fine.
Which is essentially the Free Bird encore.
Yeah. And then the other part of me is like, and I want to tell the jokes that I'm writing. I have a joke about having a gun now. I did not choose that, and I don't know what my audience feels about that, but I know that it's funny, and I wrote it.
Oh, I want to hear that. I've been thinking about getting a gun and writing jokes about being like a liberal who secretly wants a gun.
So go back to parking lot, ice house. I have one option.
Yeah, and that's it. It's like I go with my wife and my fans, or I try to appease these comics who are already shitting all over me, you know. I have to fucking defend myself. And, then people were saying, like I said, stuff out of context. Like I actually ended up texting Joe, like he thought I said something about like his family or something. I was like, I didn't say that. And then he, he walked, me and him became like, I don't know if like cool is a word, but like we became fine. And then that's when I just tripled down on everything. And I'm like, all right, fuck comedy. I guess I'm this political person. And then,
and if I'm not mistaken, right around that time, the sit-ins are happening.
Occupy
Wall Street's happening.
So that's all we're doing, and that's all we're covering, and that's that. And then,
well, you go on Citizen Radio and you frame it. You frame it from your perspective.
From my fucking stoned, terrified perspective, where it's just like, yeah, I guess they fucking hate women. Or, I don't remember what I fucking said.
I remember one thing you said, which made me giggle, is because I didn't hear Red Band say this.
Oh my God, this is the one that got me in so much trouble.
I didn't hear, but I know Brian very well, and I love Brian. I really genuinely, one of my favorite human beings alive.
I went up to him at the store and did an awkward like, hey man, I hope you're good. Like, and I don't know if he recognized me at first, but I was like, sorry if I was a dick to you. And like, he like shook my hand and like, now we just awkwardly nodded at each other.
I love Brian.
Well, it's so funny when you hear people say that, because again, to me, he was just like this evil. So essentially what I said at one point during the Stone interview, Brian goes, what if a girl comes when she's raped? Like, does that count? And so then
By the way, that's a Brian Red Band ism. Like, you knowing Brian, that's something he'd say in that safe space of the Rogan podcast.
And remember, I don't know this. Not a safe space for Jamie. So the next day on Citizen Radio, I was just like, that's what a rapist says. That's what a fucking crazy rapist says.
Yeah.
And then, the next day, so you think I'm a fucking rapist? And I'm like, oh God, for a group of people who get so mad about like, you take jokes seriously. I was like, everyone is taking that joke very seriously.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it just blew up. And so then I just went down the political rabbit, and I missed stand-up, and I tried to do stand-up again, like maybe 5 years ago or whatever. And then like Robin was really helping me, and then fucking he died. And then I was just like, fuck comedy. And it was awful. And
during this period, are you doing the retweet, the social media,
Oh yeah. I mean, I did that until my like life imploded. Like that's all I did, because that, especially if I wasn't getting gigs, well, you're not going to get validation there. So you got to go on Twitter harder, and
would bum me out. On being candid, it would bum me out when something would happen in comedy, and maybe I'm thinking it's in the Twitter mentions or in the Twitter like news things.
Yeah,
something would happen in comedy like where all of us would be like, oh, it's going to be sticky for him for a little bit. Yeah. And then I'd see you being the first one that everyone was retweeting, and I'd be like, come on, Jamie.
Yeah.
Like, back.
I wonder what that was besides Tosh.
Well, there was like Kurt Metzger, and you got it.
So Kurt, when Kurt got shit from Amy, I didn't say anything because I felt bad. But no,
he didn't he? Or Sam Morrell did the rape.
Sam Morrell, I did, and that I felt really bad for. That I haven't heard back from him, but I did email him to apologize, because I'm like, that sucks. Like, because he wasn't like a name yet, and everyone was going after him so hard. And like I knew Sam. Like Sam like used to book me on his show.
Sam's a really sweet
guy.
And
like he was really sweet, and I was like I was part of that. But again, like, and this is not a defense at all. This is like learn from my mistakes, listeners. I felt so burned by comedy, and you know, like when you're in a shitty relationship and you just keep like, all you do is tell your friends how good the relationship is. You're like, oh yeah, me and Diana are like great, and we're like super healthy and like everything's good, and you're just like, just show that you're good. Why are you saying this? And you realize you're saying it to convince yourself. I feel like that's what I was doing with comedy, and sort of the opposite, where like I had to convince myself that I made the right decisions. I was incredibly miserable. So when I saw a comic fuck up or get dragged under the bus, it would validate that I went the right way.
Man, you have a really interesting perspective on this that I assume the rest of the world shares, but I know for a fact all fucking people, verified people on Twitter, all social media people, all comics feel. And it's an interesting perspective because I have been there where you tweet something thinking, this should get a fucking few retweets or I've been to the refresh thing. Like I did it yesterday. Yeah. I posted a video of my wife tearing off with the gas tank.
Oh, I saw that when I was driving up here. Yeah.
And I was like, and I mentioned my Alabama tour dates. Yeah. And I was like, okay, this should get in my, this is so fucked up. Yeah. And I know you'll know this, but like know this feeling, but I go, this should get 10,000 retweets in 10 minutes. Yeah. And 10,000 views in 10 minutes. It should get to 20,000 views in 30 minutes, and it should be at 50,000 views in an hour. That's where this should track. Yep. And I start swiping. Yeah. And I'm like 6,000. No, it has a reloaded swipe. Yeah. And you're like, okay, 9,000 more.
And
better.
Then you go like, oh, was that good enough?
And then it at 2 hours it was only at 50,000. It never kept going. And
yeah.
I'm like, motherfucker.
Or like posting a tweet and being like, this is the one, and it gets like 2 faves, and you go, oh, fucking, you delete it like right away.
Dude, I stopped tweeting jokes. I stopped tweeting jokes because I found that I was taking away from my stage, because I would and Natasha Leggero, by the way, said this last night on Sam Jones. But I found, and so I'm reiterating her statement, but it's something I do also, is that a single thought that you have and put out to Twitter can be worked into a really good bit if you just let it marinate.
Yeah. So and that's the thing, right? Where it's like I wasn't getting stage time, so I'm like, I need people to clap for me. And you know, you said something that I wanted to. I think that a lot of people feel this way. I think that the reason that, like, I mean, besides Joe, but like the reason that mindfulness and people are talking about yoga and meditation and all that stuff, I think the reason that's blowing up is because we've gone fucking haywire on like Twitter and Instagram, and I almost think it's like a rebellion against that. I think people feel so disconnected, and I also, going out to clubs and hanging out with comics, I was like, I realized that I'm like, I wasn't seeking that out, because you just get that fake validation online, you know? And like, do you know Jerry Rocha?
Yeah.
Dude, like I just went to dinner with him before like some bar gig last night, and it was wonderful. Just like talking to comics and being around comics. And then this guy, Adam Hunter, who now does jiu-jitsu at my gym, like he was running the show.
Adam Hunter was like a state wrestling champ.
Yeah, man.
I'd be interested to see his jiu-jitsu.
He's great.
He's a big MMA guy too.
He's a big MMA guy. And like, you know, again, I thought me and him were going to be enemies. I actually think I fucked him over. I think he made some cyborg tranny joke or something, and I probably called him out. And then me and him have become friends. And I hope he's okay with this, but like, he was like, yeah, man, like that was a really hard time for me. And I was just like, fuck. Like, because you don't realize that when you're only staring at a screen and you're not talking to people, you don't realize that they're people and they're with families, and that maybe they misspoke, or maybe the article was portraying them incorrectly, or their inaccuracies. You're just like, who are we going after, and how am I going to get those fucking retweets? And now Adam is so fucking sweet to me, and like,
he's a really great guy.
He's been bringing me to clubs, and we've been hanging out at jiu-jitsu, and he's
not to, I mean, I know Adam. I've known Adam for a pretty long time. I don't hang out with him all the time, but I will say the one thing I know about Adam is he's very everything on his sleeve. Like he just, there's no pretense to him. There's no bullshit.
No,
he's like, I'm trying to hustle in Hollywood. This is what I do.
Yep.
I have some passions. I'm a good joke writer. You know.
Yep. And the fact that, you know, we don't think about like the lives we can potentially ruin, or that they're lives because we see them as like screen names. And the fact that like this dude, after like I was part of a brigade that fucked him, is like one of the guys who's like really trying to help me, like in LA. Like it says a lot about comics. And but yeah, man, we don't think about that shit.
I don't think about it. I'm guilty of it hardcore. I've said shit on my podcast about people flippantly, like not even thinking about what I've said.
Yeah.
And it may turn people off from liking a really fucking talented comic or police officer. Like I do this single podcast and I started going like, I wonder if I'm exploiting people. Like I wonder if I'm not really thinking about the fact that they have lives and they have one video on the internet that I'm watching and making me laugh.
I mean, dude, I will say this, and I think I told you this on Doug's, but I will tell you every time I see you, where I got really, really nervous so once I was like, I'm going back into stand-up, and once I was going to do Stanhopes, I was like, I guess I should listen to like what people have been saying about me, because I was just like in a bubble teaching jiu-jitsu, pretending that I was just starting over again. And I went back and I listened to Metzger's podcast with you, and I forget if that was after Kurt and I think it was after Kurt and I had started like texting. Like he texted me to make sure I was okay.
I think so, yeah.
And I listened to it, and you were like so sweet. Like I was really nervous because like I liked you and I remembered Amsterdam, and you pretty much said what you said to me at the top of the show, where you were just like, yeah, man, I was just like really bummed out, and like I thought of Jamie as a comic. And I remember hearing that and being like, you thought of me as a comic? Like those were just things I didn't know, or I didn't, or I just, you know, the self-hate got the best of me. And, but hearing that, where I'm like, I don't know, that was a moment I think where I realized that like I really did like the comedy community, and that I definitely fucked up. And yeah, no, that was a big one for me. I didn't think you were like a dick or anything.
Well, I'm fairly self-correcting, and I think I have a really good heart. And so like even when even like when people go after people, I always empathize with the person getting gone after.
It's so
first
awful.
Like I automatically go like that when that girl posted a picture of herself in the Chinese gown.
Dude, yeah.
And everyone's like, my dress isn't your goddamn whatchamacallit. And then that guy turned out to be racist.
Yeah. Also, wasn't she like in fucking high school or something?
Yeah, and she was like, I don't really give a fuck. And then
I know, good on her.
By the way, it's so nice to see someone. Bill Burr said it best. Who are they? Like, who are they?
Yeah.
Like, if you don't look at your phone, it's actually nobody.
Dude.
It doesn't affect you. Don't go to the grocery store and everyone's like, oh shit, you're the one in the Chinese dress?
Yeah.
They don't know.
No, I remember after all that shit happened to me, and even after the Rogan Tosh thing, I like wore a hoodie and sunglasses out in the street thinking everybody knows. Everybody.
So funny.
But here's why too. You live on your phone. So because you live on your phone, it does feel like it's following you around. I remember I was in some fucking Twitter fight with someone at my apartment in New York, right?
It's so insane.
And I was fighting with some stranger, and I was like, you know what? This fucking sucks. I'm gonna go out. I like live on a gorgeous park. I'm gonna go walk around the park, and I'm gonna close my laptop. And I closed my laptop, and dude, I don't even know how it fucking happened. I'm in the park 5 minutes later on my phone without even remembering picking it up, fighting with someone else. And it's like, all these strangers on the internet, if you choose to look at it, they are calling you a cunt when you're out to dinner with your family. They're calling you a cunt when you're taking a shit. They're calling you a cunt when you're going for a walk. Where it's like, you are bringing them everywhere with you. So of course you think the entire world knows. I mean, dude, I haven't been able to make a new guy friend without sitting them down like I'm on some pedophile watch list and like explaining like the last 10 years of my lives. And these guys are just looking at me like, bro, like, calm down. Like, yeah. I've made it so weird because you carry around this shame that like everyone knows everything that people have said about you and shit like that. Like, it's been fucking weird. But then you realize that if you put your phone away or if you turn your mentions off,
dude, I turned my notifications off.
It's a dream.
And I was going through a lot of what you're talking about. Like, I really was. Like, I would, like, who retweeted mine? Like, you know, like who liked my videos? Who, and I turned I got a new phone, and it said, would you like to allow notifications?
Yeah.
And then I went, wait, I can choose not to have these on here? And I turned off.
I can get out of this nightmare?
I turned off all of them. I turned off texting, email, everything. Yep. Now, granted, I'm probably not as good a businessman anymore.
Yeah.
Because I don't reply to things very often at all.
But you've also already established that, like, you have your base.
But now I look at social media as a push notification, meaning like I push out material. And if you like it, enjoy it. And if you don't like it, you feel free to comment and trash it. I just simply am not going to read that because my notifications are off and I don't want to fuck up my day.
Yeah. Well, so what I did was, I got kind of caught in the middle. So I was like, okay, if I'm going to go on, everyone was like, there is no fucking way you can read notifications. And I was like, true. But I also I'm starting all over again. So I need to It
had to be cool. You were offline for how long?
A year.
It
was great.
And that's almost like a cleanse.
Yeah. Oh, that's why when you're the reason I seem introspective or self-aware or self-critical or at all is because of that. It's like, okay, well, I rock bottomed, and then I literally got to spend a year doing jiu-jitsu, going on hikes. I had a great girlfriend. We broke up, but we broke up.
She was beautiful.
She was beautiful.
Yeah.
She was so out of my league. And
I was wondering about that. She was absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, a bit of a jealous streak. And
well, you had a lot going on in your life. I can't imagine that. I remember thinking, this girl's really hot. You had so much going on in your life at the time. I was like, I hope this lasts.
Well, I mean, I'm bummed out it didn't. It was actually me who ended it because the jealous stuff did get out of control. But I'll tell you, I would 1,000% be dead because when we first met, she was like, I get jealous and then I get mean. And I was like, you're hotter than me. I'm not going to look at any other fucking girl. I was like, there's nothing to worry about. The problem is if you're predisposed to being like that jealous, you'll make shit up if it's not there. And,
the problem with me is I get jealous, I get mean, and then I get even.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait, I don't mind the first two. The even. What do you mean even?
Can we go into that?
You'll see.
Yeah.
It happens every relationship. It's not me. It's not you. It's me. And you're like, well, fix you.
Yeah.
Fix you, and then let's be us.
And then let's work on that.
My wife did that. My wife, when we first started dating, she goes, I don't fight fair. And I went, hold on, you know this, so why don't you fix this? Yeah. And I was like, wait, let's fix this together.
You did the hardest part by realizing you have a problem.
You just realized you have a problem.
I know.
That's not. You can't just go. Oh, by the way. I have AIDS. I do infect people. I just want you to know that.
I was like, yeah, but dude, that's such a guy thing because I did the same thing and I was like, oh, we'll fix that. Oh, it's like, we'll fix your lot. Did you?
I fixed it. Well, not entirely, but I'll tell you yesterday, she ripped the fucking gas tank out of the thing and she didn't blame me.
Yay.
She came back and she went, I fucked up. And I went, whoa. Yeah. What big girl are we talking to right now?
Jesus.
I was giggling so hard because all I was like, this is gonna be great for Instagram. That's all I thought. I was like, I'll pay $1,000, whatever it is. I don't give a fuck.
I know. We came, me and her, we came close to fixing it, and then it just went off the.
Wait, talk about rock bottom.
Oh, rock bottom. Rock bottom was literally
because that's when I think I saw you on your plateau crawl out of rock bottom.
What, with the stand-up thing?
When I saw you, I think you were like, it's been rough. It's getting better.
Yeah.
I'm not there yet. I have a couple things to tidy up.
Yeah.
And then I can start over.
Totally. Yeah. So, I mean, she was a huge part of not. So when all that shit happened, she was out of town.
Who?
My girlfriend, Diana. Okay. And I was like.
So wait, hold on. Hang on one second. Were you broken up with your wife and still doing the podcast?
For a little bit.
Okay.
For a little bit. I was doing it.
And that's when you hooked up with a chick and the chick was like, he hit on me. That's aggressive.
No. Well, kind of. By
the way, and once again, I'm doing exactly what you said you were guilty of. Is I only read whatever part of those articles about you fit my agenda because I liked you.
But even that, no, I mean, that's the articles. I mean, that's the problem is when you...
You just did a couple things that are fairly regular, but are not are not line agenda'd with your podcast and your fan base.
Exactly.
By the way, and it's just stuff like going, hey, do you want to come back to my room?
Yeah. Well, and then
and you and your wife had an open relationship.
Yes.
And you're being like, hey,
which it also didn't make it out to be. So it seems like I was just like recklessly cheating on her with like a million people. And by the way, even in the article that trashes me, it was like, and the girl said yes, and he treated me really well. And like,
you're not a creep.
No.
You've never, by the way, I don't think
I don't even make first moves on girls because I'm so fucking awkward. Like,
me too. It's the AIDS virus.
Yeah. And, but, you know, if you Google me, please click links that aren't horrible. But I mean, I have to say this where it's like trying to climb back up and like get gigs and, you know, like reps and all that stuff, especially with what's going on now. You Google me, and if you just look at the headlines, it looks like I was accused of fucking sexual assault, or it looks like I was accused of like, you know, creeping on girls who like didn't want it, or.
And by the way, I hope that I can say this, but you're allowed to like hit on girls that don't want you to hit on them,
and then they say no, and then you go yeah, sorry, okay, my bad, bye.
By the way, I did that my whole fucking life. I hit on women that didn't want to have sex with me, but I'd pursue it. I'd say, hey, do you want to, you know, no thanks, okay, all right. And then we'd end back at her house and be like, oh, hey, what's up, it's you. And then like with a big group of people, and then we'd be in the kitchen, I'd be talking, and you'd say something again, and she'd be like, I'm not interested. And you're like, okay, just checking. I mean, by the way, that's you're allowed to like ask someone, do you think I'm attractive?
Well, that's
do you want
dating,
to hit on me?
And again, if it works out, like I have a producer friend who like met his wife and they have beautiful kids, and like she was in like costumes or like something lower than. If it works out, we go, this is amazing. They met at work.
It's so varied, and this is the problem I have. It's so varied in that yes, what Harvey Weinstein was doing was rape. And it was across the board abuse of power. Yeah. There's no question about that.
What if I was like, well...
But there's also women, I'm certain, that had to have interacted with Harvey Weinstein that probably maybe met their husband at work. You know, like that is also like Anthony Bourdain met his wife who was sexually assaulted by fucking... Harvey Weinstein, I think. I'm almost certain. I don't. Allegedly, I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
But Anthony Bourdain's a solid fucking dude across the board. He met his wife, who was targeted by Harvey Weinstein on the job. He met her on a shoot.
Right.
They met. That's how you meet sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes you are working and you see an attractive person and you guys click and you go, oh shit, is this happening? And you're like, oh, it is. And then you fall in love, you get married, and you have a fucking solid across the board dude like Anthony Bourdain who would never do a thing. But yeah, he met you at work.
Right. Yeah.
He met his last wife at work.
Yeah.
He met his last, by the way, he works a lot. Where the fuck else is he going to meet people?
Yeah. And I mean,
and he is not, by the way, across the board, I don't know Anthony Bourdain, but I kind of do in my heart because I feel like we worked together for 7 years, although I've never fucking met the guy. But I feel like we get along really well because we both like to drink.
He's a jiu-jitsu guy, so I'm like, you cool.
But like, he is not a creeper, but yeah, he's not a sexual assaulter.
No, man. And I mean, God, now when I date, I'm just like, they literally have to be like, I had a girl literally be like, are you gonna fuck me or not? I'm like, oh great, we're good. All right, cool. I can do that. Like, that's what it comes down to. I am not like the sexy alpha. But so when that happened, so the rock bottom was, so my girlfriend was out of town. My girlfriend who said, I get jealous and then I get mean. I was like, well, this isn't going to fly. Yeah. You know, she's never seen me look at another girl, but I was like, this is literally her nightmare. And so wasn't taking calls from my family, had zero. And I was getting it on both ends because comics got to be like, ha, ha, ha. It bit him in the ass.
It looks hypocritical.
Yep. And then, so there was... That was the thing, is usually when there's like a scandal, quote unquote, you have people to defend you as well. I burnt both sides, right? Wow. Where the one side will refuse to listen and reach out and they just mob, right? And then comics, I fucked. So and my girlfriend, who is out of town with her family, is jealous and mean, I am told. And
so you were literally our one man on an island.
I remember all the lights were off in my apartment. I had just moved to LA after the separation and felt like I was finally like getting my life on track. Diana moved in.
So you were split up from your wife. You're out in LA.
We were split up for a while. Yeah.
But you're not doing the podcast. Now you're not doing the podcast.
Well, I stopped like the week before, but we were doing it like via Skype for a little while.
Okay. And so you're out in LA and then it comes out and your ex-wife kind of throws you under the bus, as opposed to going, look, I know I've known the guy for a very long time.
We were talking about it for a long time off the phone, or like on the phone and stuff like that, and then I don't know, something pushed her. And again, I've worked very hard not to like shit on her or any of like the girls or whatever.
I always liked by the way, I always liked your ex-wife. I listened to the podcast.
Yeah, she's
I never
funny.
disliked your ex-wife. And by the way, I don't have a problem with people who have an agenda or have a viewpoint and a stance and an angle. Like she's very progressive. Dude, I don't have a problem with that.
I was supposed to do this interview for this really big newspaper, kind of like clearing my shit up. And the other night, and we were across the street from the Comedy Store doing the interview. And the interviewer, I haven't said this to anybody, but the interviewer goes, oh wait, secret time. That's what we say.
Yeah, secret time.
And the interviewer goes, you and your wife are really like ride or die, right? And I just start like bawling. And I realized that like all that shit that happened to me was so insane and so fucking crazy that I'm like, oh, I didn't get to mourn my divorce. Like, I didn't get to mourn like my normal person sad thing. Oh, yeah. Like, I was so busy being like, the internet hates me. People think I'm a fucking like predator. Like, I'm gonna kill myself. Like, I'm breaking up with that I was just like, I mean, this is like fucking, we've been separated for like 2 years, man. Like something like crazy like that. And I was just like, fuck, we were ride or die. And fuck, like we did live out of the car together, and she wasn't a journalist when I met her. And like we met Provenza together in like Albuquerque after doing like mushrooms, and that's how I got Edinburgh, and that's how I got, you know, like all this stuff. And I just like broke, where I was like, I literally didn't get the chance to be sad about a divorce, which is like a normal person thing, right? And so I'm sitting in the apartment. I have no idea how I'm going to bring it up to my girlfriend. So I'm just like, I'm Googling like ways to like kill myself. I'm like trying to figure out like what's the least painful way. And then I'm just like feeling like a piece of shit, because like I'm like looking at like knots, and I'm like, I don't know how to tie a fucking knot. And like you just feel like you're such a fuck up. You would like I'd be the guy who like kills himself wrong. That's and is like so paralyzed.
Funny. The joke I made on Stand Hopes is you're Googling ways to kill yourself, and one of the answers is watch Jamie Kilstein's Hour.
No!
Do you remember I said that on the podcast? And I was like, and you were like, oh, thank you for breaking my balls.
Yeah.
Like I feel like a comic again.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. But it's true. And like, dude, if I was around people like that for all this, I mean, look, I got out of it. And so Diana, like, you know, I've told some of her like more insane jealousy stories because she said I could. But like, I will use this podcast to be like, I would be dead without her. Yeah. Like, she had my back.
She was a cool chick.
She was cool. Yeah. She had my back so fucking hard. And
now, was Allison reaching out to you at any point of this?
No.
She threw you under the bus and was like, you're dead to me.
We just had to talk the divorce stuff, and it was like not fun. And I just like was like, I don't. I probably can't talk about that, but I like don't see anything. And like, I was pretty much like, I'll go live on a couch. I just want this to end. And so
it stinks that someone that you shared ideas with, shared thoughts with, shared a podcast with, shared hours of conversation with, all of a sudden it just ends. I mean, someone that knows you so well and knows you're not a predator, knows you're not a fucking creep.
I've thought about that for a while, and like, again, like, I'm not going to say anything negative, so I'll say something maybe to defend her, where it's like, it's also got to be really weird to live in a world and a community where a bunch of girls are saying that about like your husband. And like, me and her had a pretty like very like platonic-y relationship. Like, we were like best friends, and I don't know, maybe like it was easier to, like, that's got to be an awful place for her to be too, where all these people are like, your husband's a fucking creep. Like, what do you do? Like, when there's a pile on her end, and, you know, in her mind, she didn't do anything, and she's getting this pile on. I mean, she was probably just fucking pissed, where suddenly she's getting these emails about like her husband like gallivanting off and just like fucking a bunch of girls. Like, that's not fun. Remember when we were in an open relationship, I mean, I remember, you don't know this, but when we were in an open relationship, it was don't ask, don't tell, which feels like you're fucking cheating. It's not fun. Like, literally, like, you can't go to a bar and someone's like, are you in a relationship? And you're like, I'm in a secret open relationship. That sounds like you're fucking cheating.
Yeah.
And so it was don't ask, don't tell for a reason. She didn't want to fucking know. And so now you have all these people contacting you. Like, that's awful for her too. That
it's
I think
probably easier, and I say this, you're right, empathizing with her, it's probably easier for her to say, I guess I just didn't know him. than to go like, wait.
And I think all
hold
she
on,
did,
I do know him.
Yeah,
it's easier for her to, and I'm certain she's not listening to this, but if she was to listen to this, I'm saying this in her defense. In one of those moments, it's easier to go like pull the victim card as opposed to try to find the hero card in the other person.
I think her. I mean, fuck. It's kind of like what I went through with the Rogan thing, right? Where it's kind of like, well, I have all these people on my side, and like,
yeah, what am I gonna do?
And also I
have a fucking podcast. She's also doing Citizen Radio.
Yeah, or like a version of it. But then she also that's a whole thing. But like, yeah. So like,
and in a weird way. And by the way, this is a little shitty to say, and I apologize if she is listening to this. I don't mean this shitty towards her, but let's just be honest. The same way I looked at my wife ripping off the gas nozzle yesterday,
yeah.
She probably looked at, she might have looked at, this is a great way to fill that agenda that I can write about. I can now write that I was with a predator. This is what it's like, ladies. This is, guys, this is now fodder. It's almost like fucking...
Well, and also remember that like that scene that I'm in is so like a tack dog.
Yeah.
That it's like she was probably about to be brought down. Where like that she was probably getting emails from journalists who were like, if you don't say something, like you're enabling this or you're whatever. And it's
wow, how fucking exhausting is that? I'm so glad that I don't have like a party affiliation.
I know.
I have a good heart.
I still have to deal with it, and man, I realize this too. This is not meant to sound self-congratulatory, and none of this, by the way, I want to be like, I'm a victim. Like, it's like,
no, but you're not. But I don't think you have at all. I think part of you has shared the inadequacies, which I think we all share, in that the retweet culture, the finding the fans, and I think you just, I mean, what I like about where you're at as a person right now, this is going to sound really silly to say. The part of me that is jealous in where you're at is this, it's a new salad days. I love the salad days of life. When you first have kids, those are your salad days. When you first get married, those are your salad days.
Yeah.
When you first start comedy, those are your salad days. When you just can't get enough, you're starving for the meal, but all they've given you is a salad.
Dude.
And you're just fucking wolfing it down. And what you're going through right now, where you're like, fuck it, I train, I do comedy, I get introspective.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go have coffee, I'm gonna write, I'm gonna fucking meet chicks, I'm gonna have a few beers, I'm gonna grab a pizza on the ride home, I'm gonna wake up alone, and I'm gonna fucking go and start my day and breathe in some sunshine.
Yeah, man. I mean, this is the fucking happiest I've been. Like, and you're right about like that, like rediscovery. Like, do you know how excited I am to like feature for somebody?
Dude.
Like, I remember like, as I was headlining when I stopped and all this stuff, and I was starting to like take it for granted a bit, and like I wasn't really hanging out with like comics the way I used to.
Taking things for granted, it should be an illness.
Oh, seriously.
If you can always not take that. I took I had a line one time, a meet and greet line. This is before I was selling tickets.
Yeah.
This is before I was ever selling tickets. I had a meet and greet line in Philadelphia that was maybe 100 people long.
Yeah.
And I remember this so vividly. I looked down the line and I thought to myself, ugh, I can't do this.
I remember when I did that too.
And then the next time I went into Philly, no one stood in my meet and greet line.
Whoa.
And I stood there as people walked out. And there was still the same amount of people there to see me.
Show good,
but it was just a different energy. They didn't care to shake my hand. And they were like, hey, great show, man. And love you on WMME or whatever.
Yeah.
And they'd walk out and I was like, whoa, I took it for granted.
Yep.
That is why fucking, I don't know how many shows I did this year, fucking 300 shows, whatever.
Yeah.
Every single fucking show I do a meet and greet.
Yeah.
And I go, and I don't ever take it for granted.
And by the way, of course you did that before you were selling tickets, because I did that when I wasn't, because you're almost like projecting this like air of fame that you don't have yet.
Oh.
So you're going, I have to go do this. And it's like, yeah, dude, this is everything you ever wanted. You should be fucking excited about it. But you're not there yet. You're in that weird like blue belt stage where you think you're more than you are, even though you are starting to like get accomplished. Now you just want it like sooner. So you start to resent the fucking people who are there to see you and who are supporting you. And oh my God, I totally did that. And now you offer me a fucking unpaid 8-minute club set in Burbank. I am driving there so fucking fast and appreciating it. And here's another thing with the politics, which is like, when I was screaming and yelling at people about being a good person and shitting people on Twitter, I was not a good person. I certainly wasn't predatory, but I was sleeping around. I was selfish. I wasn't calling my family a lot.
Selfish is an interesting word because I think I'm selfish, and I know what you mean by selfish. I know what you mean. You don't mean like. It's selfish. I have hints of selfishness. I'm a very selfish person. It's almost like it's not even narcissistic, but you don't even know that you're doing it. You just are oblivious to the fact that you're just oblivious.
Like if I came to you and was just like, and was like, hey, can I feature for you? If part of you was just like, man, he doesn't know, like I had a shitty day too. Like I had a TV thing turned down, or like somehow like I would always like kind of make it about me. Like, why is this person asking me for something? Don't they know how depressed I am? Or don't they know how,
what turn it into you?
Yeah. I mean, I remember I got pissed at some guy. I was doing a show in New Mexico and I like made some like fucking earnest emo douchebag announcement. Like I'm quitting drinking and things are really hard for me. So like, I'm not going to be talking to people after the show. It's like the 30 people who were there. And some kid came up to me. Granted, this is a little weird. And he was like, hey man, I just want you to know, like the last show I went to, I drove from like Austin and I was going to kill myself. And then I saw your show and it was like right before that. And then they were like, funny man, Jamie Kilstein. They brought me up. I was like, I hope I'm good tonight. I hope I don't blow it. But then there was part of me that I'm like, well, why do you fucking tell me that? Like, I'm getting ready for a show. And it's like, he told me that because he was a sad kid who almost killed himself. And he drove 6 hours to see fucking stupid, not famous me. And I saved his life. And that's incredible. Yeah. But at the moment I was like, didn't he fucking hear the announcement? Didn't he hear that I was trying not to drink? And it's just like, fuck, man.
Didn't he hear the announcement?
Like so conceited. But now it's like, you lose everything and you have a moment where it's like, well, all right, I either kill myself or I become a better person. I become a person I thought I was. And now I don't really tweet about politics at all. But I talk to my mom every day and I get to like teach kids jujitsu, and not every day, but I talk to my mom a lot. And like, I have like a great relationship with my brothers. And like, I've told women who wanted to sleep with me, being like, you don't want to, I'm not in a place. And I've actually like said no to women instead of like needing that validation. Cause that's why I slept around so much on the road, is I just needed validation and love, and I hated myself and I didn't think I was attractive. And then, and so I would sleep with literally anyone. If you made a move on me, you're hot. Like that's all I fucking needed.
Validation is so fucking slippery.
I know, man.
Does it happen from our dads? My dad always validated me. Well, maybe I take that back. He definitely validates me now. I think he validated me when I was a kid. I'm almost certain he did. But I do have a weird need for validation. Obviously, I do stand-up comedy. I need strangers' approval of my thoughts.
I don't know. I mean, it's always easy to run to the mom and dad thing. But you were popular in college. Yeah, I was unpopular. Being funny was like the only thing that stopped me from kind of getting like beat up. But I wasn't popular. I mean, for me, it was the girl thing where it was just like being a virgin for so long, then having my first 2 girlfriends cheated on me. And
I got cheated on.
Did you?
Yeah, pretty hard.
Yeah. Oh, wait, I think I've heard you talk about that.
Yeah, I was cheated on really hard twice, oddly enough. Twice. The girl that I lost my virginity to cheated on me.
Yeah.
At her prom.
Oh,
and
Jesus.
yeah, and then we all spent the night at her house, and this is hardcore secret time.
Yeah,
this is really embarrassing secret time because my daughters are listening to this song called "Michael in the Bathroom." Have you heard it?
No.
Have you heard it? It's this fucking ridiculous song about. I'm pretty certain. And by the way, whatever progress the right thinks or the left thinks that we're making, we're not. No. Okay, kids are still fucking kids. No, kids are not still fucking kids. Kids are still fucking kids.
We are not fucking kids.
No, but like, there's this song, Michael in the Bathroom, and it's about this kid who goes to a party, I think, and he ends up in the bathroom, and he's talking about him being himself a loser, that he's hiding in the bathroom because his buddy left to talk to a girl.
Yeah.
And I said, I go, wait, what's he doing in the bathroom? My daughters are very progressive, I would argue. And they're just like, oh, he's gay. And I'm like, what? And like, clearly he's gay and he's in love with his friend. And they're just like, almost like making fun of the fact that he's this gay kid.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, aren't you guys like, don't you have friends that are like bisexual and they're like, Dad, it's a fad.
Oh, Jesus.
Like kids are saying they're bisexual when they're not bisexual. Kids are saying they're transgender just to get attention.
Whoa.
And you're like, whoa. So I'm sorry. All these people over on the right or left are making huge leaps and bounds.
Yeah.
Socially.
Yeah.
And the kids that are supposed to be affecting are just as meatheaded as the kids in the fucking 80s.
Just the same.
Now, granted, they are my children, so there might be, they are my children, but all their friends are all, it's so funny, but this song, Michael in the Bathroom, my secret time was I got cheated on at the prom. We were all supposed to go spend the night at her house. We all get driven back to her house. I'm drinking. I'm not talking to anybody. But I'm not drinking, but I have had booze. Maybe I didn't. And I went and I slept in her car at her slumber party.
Yeah.
And her dad, the nicest guy in the fucking world, comes out and he's like, knocks on the window. This is like man time.
Yeah.
Knocks on the window. He's like, this isn't how it's done, buddy. And I was like, what? And he goes, this isn't, you can't do this, man. And he's like, I don't know what happened. I don't want to know what happened, but just go in the house. Be a man. You go in the house.
Whoa.
And I was like, all right. And I got out of the car and I walked in the house and no one said anything to me. And I just sat there and I fucking went to sleep. Had some breakfast, went home. I got picked up, or my dad picked me up.
Holy shit.
Man, I remember
What a fucking guy.
Just knocked on the window, and he just shook his head, and he was like, this isn't how it's done.
Be a man.
Like, you got to be a man. You got to go in that room.
Oh,
it stings.
I love
because
that.
I don't know what happened to you. I don't need to know what happened. It's my daughter. But this isn't how it's done.
Holy
and I was
shit.
like, fuck. Anyway.
I've gotten to the point, by the way, I thought I could hold it, where the piss is like clouding my brain.
Well, how much time have we done?
2 hours.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, well, why don't we'll wrap it up.
Yeah,
and then we'll have you come back. I
would love to, man.
I could talk to you very easily. I've always felt that.
Yeah.
And so, and I love, obviously I wanted to talk a little bit about the stuff that happened to you.
kinda have
I
to
think
a
a lot of
little bit.
people want to know what's going on or how that was processed for you.
Yeah.
But I love the fucking way we started talking about fucking AIDS and shame. And in the middle of it, I was like, oh, this is a nice intro.
Yeah.
But I could talk to you about anything, man.
Oh, me too, dude.
You're very open and honest, and I like the place you're in now. I think the place you're in now is super healthy for you.
Yeah, and it's starting to come out. It's starting to come out of my stand-up. I mean,
that's where it has to come out, and you just got to get on stage a bunch so that your voice and your insights on what the internet was for you and what it did to you and where it took you and where you've seen the darkness.
Yeah.
I think that's a really fucking hot take on life right now.
It's interesting. I'm in a weird spot though, because I've also had people on the opposite side of where I've been sort of want me to suddenly be like the anti Me Too, like the sexist sort of like.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't listen to anyone. And I just do you.
That's the plan. But I mean, dude, I'll tell you, like, I definitely had a moment where I was like living on a couch and like maxed out my credit cards and like trying to afford to get into my brother's wedding. And like, you see that trajectory where you're like, oh, there's the book deal, right? Like the former guy on the left who now like seen the light, and I go on Fox News.
You know what would be cool? To be dead honest with you, Jamie, and I think you're a really fucking smart person. I wouldn't mind reading an article that you wrote about your experience with the Me Too and where the hypocrisy lies in it, and where's you have a real fucking Jon Snow, meaning like you can't die.
Yeah.
you have a Jon Snowness about you with this
funny.
Me Too stuff where you're like, hey, yeah, I already been called all the bad things. You can't call. Now I get to say what I believe.
Yeah, I think that. I mean, two things. I think for the women, I think that like right now, so many people are getting justice that they thought they would never get or haven't gotten for so long that it's like no one is like, you remember when like Matt Damon was like, man, Me Too is great, but like Al Franken's not that bad, and they treated Matt like he was like a fucking rapist. But also like for me, where I'm like, I'll still see like a comic.
Go piss in my backyard. Go piss in my backyard because I want to finish this conversation. And I know you have to piss. Just go around the corner and piss by the big Bird of Paradise.
Okay.
They canceled Roseanne.
They canceled Roseanne?
They completely canceled it, yeah.
What the fuck?
Yep. It's
Jamie is pissing and you are you serious?
Yep.
What did she say? She called her...
Oh, she said...
After racist tweet. By the way, holy shit. The world just this is Joe Rogan's tweet. Weirder and weirder.
She called Obama aide Valerie Jarrett as the child of the Muslim Brotherhood and Planet of the Apes.
By the way, this really opens a fucking I mean, this is the #1 watch show in America. This really opens up a doorway to take that production online with advertisers who will support her and keep making a show for people that want to watch it.
All the MAGA people.
I mean, that's fucking insane. I didn't read her tweet. I didn't read her tweet, and I didn't watch the show. And my buddy produced it, and my friend wrote it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right.
So, like, I did, but I didn't watch it. I'm sorry, guys. I think the advice is why I'm reading someone's. Holy shit. Well, being that this podcast is going to be released in a month, I guess it's a little hot
We're
news.
like 7 behind, more than.
Oh my God! They just canceled Roseanne.
Whoa!
They just canceled Roseanne.
I mean, the way I saw the tweets going,
what was
I
it?
kinda thought that was gonna happen.
So from your expertise in Twitter and the retweets and the whatnot, what was she like?
Well, Roseanne kind of had that Owen Benjamin. Like Roseanne, like it wasn't as nuanced as her show was. And that, man, the writing staff on the new show was so good. Her tweets were just like the tweet she had, I think she's called like Valerie Jarrett like an ape. Like they weren't like, or like if like it's not like a trans joke. Yeah, ape. Like straight up. Like or it wouldn't be like a trans joke.
I'm only laughing because it's such a fucking horrible thing. Like who doesn't know not to tweet that?
Yeah. She was just like, or she said it was like a combination of the Muslim Brotherhood and an ape, and I was just like, oof. But she would do that where like it wouldn't be like a transgender joke that got misconstrued. She'd just be like, that chick has a dick, and you're just like, all right, well, that's where you stand on that. So I think she's.
What do you think? What do you think when you have, say, you have a fan base like Roseanne now and supporters that are going to go to the fucking mat for her?
Yeah,
like those numbers are legit. And and the fucking fact that she was a Trump supporter in the character, is the reason.
I mean, it's hard, man, because this is what we were talking about, sort of with like the Peterson thing, where it's like you start to take away other voices, there's going to be pushback that's even harder. They're going to double down because now, I mean, I bet you fucking money Donald Trump's going to say something about this or tweet and be like, this is what I'm talking about.
Freedom of speech.
Yeah, they're taking away.
By the way, freedom of speech. Yeah, freedom of speech. ABC's also got the right to not be in business with her.
That's the thing.
ABC's completely
and also like
in the right to say,
like Wanda,
hey, listen, this is not what we're. It's bizarre because I applaud a network who goes morals first, money second.
Me too.
But part of me thinks they are virtue signaling by going, we'll cancel it. We're going to cancel Roseanne.
Well, their money no matter what. Where it's
really?
Like if it was morals first, because of some awful stuff she's tweeted about Muslims, transgender people, and like, you know, look, I've only had 2 encounters with Roseanne and they were lovely.
I thought you were going to say Muslims.
No, with Muslims, yeah, I stay away from Muslims. I want to talk about this alt comedy. Anyway, so
no, say it out loud so we can put a pin in it.
Alt comedy progressives.
Okay, yep. Put a pin in
I
that.
was thinking about that on the way here.
Wait, go back to the Roseanne thing real quick.
Well, yeah, I've met her twice and she was lovely to me.
She's great.
But yeah, her Twitter, it looks like it's like someone else. But if they cared about if they cared about morals.
Yeah,
they would have done something about this a long time ago. I think it still is money because there was such an outrage. Everyone was tweeting about it this morning. Wanda walked away.
Wanda walked from the show?
Yep. She's like,
I guess you can't call a black person an ape and then expect black people to work for you.
And be like, hey, you see that ape
you
joke I put out, Wanda?
Wait, so the lady she talked about is black?
Yeah, it was Valerie Jarrett who worked under the Obama administration. She called her a combination of the Muslim Brotherhood and an ape.
I thought
so. A terrorist ape is what she called her. Bad guy from Planet of the Apes.
I thought she was Muslim. I thought she was Middle Eastern. I apologize.
No, I think she's black.
Okay. Yeah.
No good. But yeah, so it's like it is still money. I mean, that's the thing with these networks where like who's mad? Are more people mad? Okay, then we'll cancel it.
Let's do this if you can, and you don't have to, by the way. But I always like games like this.
Yeah.
Let's rate. What do you have to get out of here?
No. My radio started playing.
Let's rate races
fair.
based on their importance fiscally to networks, meaning their outrage and how quickly the network, because I think number one is it was black.
Yeah.
I won't say African American because that's racist. By the way, everybody, it's black.
Yeah.
Just because a person is of color who's black doesn't mean they're from Africa.
When they're like, I'm from Atlanta, you're like African American.
Yeah.
I got this.
They're just black. So I think black people are number one.
I think white people are still number one.
Okay. Oh yeah. I'm sorry.
Right?
I wasn't using white people. See, this is why I need someone like you in my life. This is what's wrong with me, and I'm the idiot that's such a fucking hypocrite that I go, I don't use rape jokes, and then immediately do a rape joke, and then I go, oh, I don't consider white people outraged. White people's outrage is number one.
Yeah.
Black people, I apologize for what I just did.
So black people get outraged, and then once they get like the white celebrities on board, then it's like, now we are a go.
Okay.
Then black. Yep. Absolutely.
Asian.
Hold on. When was the last last great Hispanic outrage?
No. By the way, I have a theory about this. I believe that we are on the precipice of a Latino civil rights movement.
Yeah.
Because I believe that Latinos in general are possibly one of the most overlooked members of our society.
Yeah.
And I think it has a lot to do with, and by the way, I may be saying something that I don't know anything about, has a lot to do with the fear of being sent back and losing what you have.
Yeah, man.
If you have a lot to lose, you don't want to fucking cause a mess. And I think that there are a lot of, with all the shit that's happening to Mexicans in our country,
there's pushback. Yeah.
But the pushback is even more terrifying because those who really want to push back are afraid to say out loud, I'm an illegal alien, because they're going to fucking lose everything.
Dude, when I saw some of those Dreamer protests, there were literally like college kids who would wear shirts that said like, I'm illegal deport, like would show up with a fucking shirt that said I'm illegal and was just like, fuck you, like I'm still showing up to this. And it's just like, you don't get braver than that.
Dude, you really don't.
Well, so just so I guess Asian, yeah.
Asians are fucking on it.
Oh yeah,
and I think they get probably shit on the most out of everyone.
Yeah,
because it's still acceptable to make Asian jokes.
Yeah,
not acceptable, but it's
like joke booky.
Yeah, like there are a lot of black comics will do it very easily, and no one will say anything.
Right.
I think it goes white, black, Asian, Muslim.
Yep. Yeah, because there's still enough like Muslim hatred that
Islamophobia in this country that
they don't really get their demands right away.
I think I got to be honest with you. I think Mexicans get the short end of the stick.
Yeah.
Or Latinos, I'll say.
Yeah. African Latinos. Yeah. No, totally. Well, so this is what I wanted to bring up, which is I just like moved out of the Valley, and I've been here so much where I started playing. I started playing that Haha Club, and going to
the Haha over on Lake Grove Show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and
Jack Jr. Shout out to Jack Jr.
Oh my god,
it's a great fucking club.
It's great.
By the way, I am sorry, Jack, that I didn't come to your birthday show. I wanted to so bad, but I got in the car to leave. We were going for my daughter's dance, and my wife was going to drop me off at the Haha, and my daughter said, "Do you have to do stand up tonight?" And I went, "What?" And she goes, "It would be nice to watch some TV with you and know that my dad was sleeping at our house when I went to sleep."
Dude, she's got you on lock.
And I was like, bitch.
Yeah.
She's got all the sensibility of her mom, and she's got my heart.
No. Yeah.
And so it fucking cuts me in half. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So I texted Jack. I'm like, I'm not going to make it. But he had a great show. I think Gabe was there.
Oh, man. I actually have to call him today because I did I guess my audition maybe last week. So I'm going to call him when I leave here, actually.
He's great.
But I went there, and then I've been playing the Ice House and Flappers, and I was thinking about all of the sort of like alt comics who will shit on clubs. And I was thinking about all the clubs I did on the road. And then I was especially thinking of Haha and the Ice House. Because the Ice House I actually thought would be very white, because Pasadena is very white, but it's not.
No.
There's like a ton of Hispanics.
Which makes that club so much fun.
So fucking fun.
I hate to stereotype, but I will say, man, you put a bunch of Mexicans in a fucking room and you're going to have one fucking fun show.
Dude, I have had a fucking blast. So I remember just assuming you were supposed to shit on those clubs, and all the alt guys who shit on clubs in general, and me when I used to shit on clubs in general. I went to an alt show the other night. My friend was gonna recommend me there, and it was just like white hipster after white hipster. The conversations I heard were so fucking bad. My friend comes in, and just like these like fake woke conversations and like networking stuff. And my friend comes in and she goes, "Hey, I'm going to introduce you to the booker." And I go, "Cool. I just got to make a phone call really quick." And I fucking snuck out and I texted her and was just like, "Hey, I had to go to my spot. Like, sorry, like, don't worry about it." And I was like, the fact that all the woke comics will shit on the clubs that are filled with fucking minorities, and then they get to go do their virtue signaling jokes to a bunch of other fucking privileged ass white people going to an alt show on a fucking Tuesday night.
Talking about being woke to a group of...
all white people.
Yeah.
It was all fucking white people. And then you go to Haha, and there's like a white couple, at least in the show I did, there was like a white couple.
Yeah.
And it was an amazing audience. And I was thinking about that, where I was like, I used to be in that scene of all people that would shit on road guys or shit on clubs. And it's like, those are the normal people.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just got like sort of infuriated at old Jamie.
It's the thing that I think it will be the trouble that Aziz will have to overcome.
Yeah.
And I think it was the trouble that you had to overcome is what people perceive to be woke is not, that's impossible.
No, it's just saying the right things.
It's saying, it just is impossible to be. Like, you know, you're like, I don't think Aziz did anything horribly wrong other than not betray his brand. And his brand was, same with you. I don't think you did anything horribly wrong except for betray your brand. And that is this woke dude, who likes to fuck.
Yeah.
Like, by the way, you're allowed to fuck, but being woke means you've got to say, how much have you had to drink? Like being, it's really difficult.
Well, and that's another weird thing where it's like, talk about like suppressing again and shame and stuff like that, is if it gets to a point where like, yeah, dudes on the left like don't want to talk about fucking. Like when I first talked to Stanhope and he was trying to like convince me to come back and come on the show, I was really scared. And he was talking about how we essentially just started talking about comedy, and he's like, what all of our favorite comics talk about openly on stage to cheers and laughs are infinitely worse than what, even if it's true, you were accused of, quote unquote.
Yeah.
It was just that we lived in this sort of like, insular bubble. And in a weird way, I think that's why so many comics are like, we're depressed and maniacs and self-hating, but actually like really lovely, empathetic, sweet people, because they do just vomit all their shit out on stage. Whereas like, yeah, if you like are in a circle where like you're not allowed to talk about like wanting to get laid, like, dude, you know how bad, like I got to the point where like I thought that was terrible to say, like, oh, I want to fuck her. Like, it's been so long since I've just been around dudes and just be like, oh, I'd fuck her, and you're like, just being able to verbalize it instead of what, like holding it in and stewing. That's when shit gets creepy.
Dude, I was with a bunch of grown-ups the other day. Yeah. Like regular grown-ups that aren't in the business.
Oh, not comics. Yeah.
And
is that what you call non-comics grown-ups?
Yeah, like non-comics.
Yeah. Regular adults.
I have a bunch of regular friends too, and they were like, they're just now hearing about cisgendered.
Oh yeah.
They just now, it's just getting to them.
It's so funny.
And it's so funny to know about this for so long, about it's LGBTQ AI now.
Oh, like, AI! I must have been in hiding when they added AI.
I don't know what it is, but they were saying.
I like that you're the woke person of your other friends.
Oh, but yeah, hardcore, and I'm just woke in that I know what the thing is. I'm like, I always say I'm 1991 woke, and so I was listening to them. And they are all so fucking liberal. Yeah. Just mock the idea that you can't just say I'm a guy. Well, like, and I was like, guys, hold on one second. And I was like, let me explain to you. And like I was trying to, and they were like, no, this is fucking ridiculous. And I was like, but you got to understand, like because there's a kid that came out in our kid's school that is, the whole subject talk started about Han Solo, and one of the people had seen Han Solo. Yeah, heard the reviews that Han Solo's transgendered, pansexual.
Pansexual. Oh,
and pansexual means you can fuck animals too. Like,
Does it?
Yeah, because Han Solo lives in a universe where you would theoretically you could fuck a dog.
Can you guys stop ruining my fucking movies?
And
please?
it's like so like, but theoretically if they do that because Han Solo also fucks aliens. So
sure.
but theoretically, once you're pansexual, you can fuck anything, dudes, animals, whatever. And so they were like, pansexual, like what the fuck? And in my head, I wanted to go, you shouldn't even brought that up to fucking America that Han Solo's Lando Calrissian.
Oh yeah.
Oh no,
okay.
Lando Calrissian's pansexual.
Oh yeah, because he was like the robot thing. Yeah. Okay.
And so it was like I felt like going, guys, it's just you're looking at the Stinger missile. You're paying attention to the fucking spinner offer.
Dude, you know what's really strange? I think that a lot of people... So I almost did an Edinburgh show this year, like talking about all of it, but then I'm like, I don't know how much of this I want to be my identity. I never got a chance to be a fucking comic. Ever.
Yeah.
Except for like, there was a little bit, but once I got labeled political and that's what people liked about me, I was like, all right, well, I guess that's what I talk about. And so there's part of me that just wants to be a comic. Again, I know that would be harder, or it's going to be a harder road than just going, again, down that sort of like alt-righty trajectory, but I just want to be a fucking comic. And so, but I was going to do Edinburgh and I decided not to. What the fuck are you talking about? Why am I even bringing this
pansexual.
up? Pansexual, wokeness.
Ruining movies and
I don't
little Stinger missile that distracts you from the...
Oh, yeah. And there was part of me that I was like... It's so weird to be making my comeback, I guess, under a Trump administration when suddenly everyone is political and me being like, so I'm back and let's talk about like nuance and moderation and like gray areas and conversation.
Gray areas.
But like the more, Bill Hicks would be proud. And, but the more I think about it and the more
How do they have a tiger on Tony the Tiger on Frosted Flakes? That is the most scary animal in the world. I literally did that, like a sophomore stand-up comedy sophomore year joke about Tony the Tiger to the group of friends the other day.
Yeah.
And they're like, actually, that's a really interesting. And I was like,
that's a good take on it.
I go, yeah, that's why I don't do that.
Oh my God. My first like applause break joke was like a really long MapQuest joke. But the more I talk to, and I still hang out with people who are like very connected to like, Democratic politicians and are in the woke scene and tweet about feminism and all this stuff. And like, all of them off the record, like when some of the more ridiculous stories like get put out, or like the Aziz thing, or just like, this is fucking ridiculous. This is fucking ridiculous. And, thank God, I had a woman who spoke at the Women's March call me after my shit happened. And I was like, here we go. I'm about to get like a bunch of shit. And she was like, this makes my job harder. Like when this shit happens to you, because then all these sexists and all these people get to go, take real cases and equate them to, stupid shit.
But it is the weird thing is like all of a sudden like guys like Aziz and you and everyone that's not a bad guy but has been vocal about equal
feminism,
rights is almost,
which should be like a good thing.
The alt-right's like, fucking let's take them down. Or even the fucking like I'm always blown away, and maybe you can help explain it to me a tad bit, when like feminists go after Lena Dunham, like, because I understand why the alt-right goes after Lena Dunham.
Yeah, of course.
By the way, I don't have a dog in this fight.
No,
but I'm always fascinated
I really
that
like
Lena
girls.
Dunham's in a weird ways burned all her bridges.
So they call it like white feminism, and this is so okay. So I think what happens on Twitter too, and I was guilty of this, is I think it's almost like hipster activism, right? So it's like, okay. So Lena Dunham comes out and she says, this is all hypothetical. She says, we have to support Rose McGowan. and then people retweet Lena Dunham all day. And then part of the progressives go, well, they're all tweeting Lena Dunham. How do I, it's like in high school, right? How do I, like, oh, you like Dave Matthews? I only like the live stuff. Or like, you like the live stuff? I only like the bootleg. Why did I use Dave Matthews?
But connected with me very
all right,
quickly.
Good. Yeah. I think that's why. All right, I know that audience. And so they're like, oh, you were offended at Rose McGowan? Well, I'm offended at Lena Dunham only bringing up Rose McGowan, who's white. And then someone else has to go, oh, well, you guys only, why aren't we talking about the transgender community? And they get raped more than anyone. And it's like, all of those things are valid, right? Like, we talk about white victims more than black victims.
That's
Transgender
true.
people are more often the targets of violent crime than like perpetrators. They're not sneaking into bathrooms. They're getting assaulted more, right?
Yeah.
These are all true things. But what happens in fucking Twitter is no one actually cares. They're just trying to be the wokest person on Twitter. So it's like,
person on Twitter.
where it's like, we don't need to talk about like transgender. That's an important issue, but we're talking about Rose McGowan right now.
Yeah.
So like, don't undermine what she went through to like prove that you're more woke or whatever. So I think that's the Lena Dunham thing, is you have a white girl, a white mouthy girl who got very famous and very successful. And instead of a lot of liberals applauding that, like I fucking loved girls, they will find ways to be like, well, she's racist or, and just kind of,
she's just regular, just like Aziz.
She's just
regular.
like
you. She's just a regular person.
We just eat our own. And that's the thing with the left, is we just, in order to seem sort of the most progressive, we have to cut away these other people.
I did find it very curious that it seemed in the news they were only showing women. It was interesting to me because I had a theory.
Yeah,
I had a theory that Dave Chappelle shared. By the way, I just had this thought that I never was going to say on stage. I was never going to say it on stage, but it did seem in the media that it seemed like only white women were speaking up against white men. That there were no black women speaking up against black men. And I was like, one of two things is happening. Either black men don't ever sexually assault black women, which I think is not real.
Yeah.
Or I wonder if it's black women don't tell on black men, and that comes from old slave mentality of like, you don't ever rat out, no matter how bad he is, the master's always going to be worst. And Dave Chappelle shared that on a special.
Yeah.
And when he said it, I went, fuck. I would never have the balls to share that on stage. I would never fucking ever try to ever
No, it was punchy. It was punchy. It was good.
intellectualize slavery or what happened in slavery. But when he said it, I went, dude, that's why he's the fucking greatest.
God, that Belly Room show, man.
It was awesome to watch because that's how, by the way, that's the only way I've ever seen Dave Chappelle.
Me too. So did we miss each other? I handed out flyers at the Boston.
I'm the reason you handed out flyers at the Boston.
What the fuck does that mean?
See the flyer right there?
Or
over to the left? The Boston Comedy Club flyer on the poster?
Oh, yeah.
Is that the one you handed out?
No.
Okay, so
ours were much grosser. I gotta go look at that while you talk.
So that flyer was the flyer.
God, Bert.
That was the first. That was no. I'm certain Neil Brennan worked the door. I don't think he barked.
I think he was there at the very. I showed up right when he was maybe leaving because I remember nervously seeing him.
No. So I worked the door at the Boston Comedy Club in 1997.
Okay.
In 1997, 98, and at that time, you just worked at that club, or you could be this guy Louis Schaefer. Louis Schaefer would go in, he'd open up the club. He went over to England and ended up doing a career.
Yeah, I've seen his.
He'd open the club, he'd play some music, and then he would bring in people. He'd bark.
And was this the Barry Katz days you were there?
Barry owned it.
Okay, so I never met him.
And so I called. I've told the story before, but I'll tell a very abridged version.
Yeah.
On my 26th birthday, my dad said, "You're a piece of shit." He called me in the morning and I answered the phone. He's like, "You're a piece of shit. I'm embarrassed of you."
And to be clear, a couple minutes ago, you said you didn't have dad issues.
By the way, I'm a hypocrite. That's all I am. I'm just a hypocrite. Great. But he was true. He was accurate. I was not doing anything in stand up. I was hanging around. I was drinking.
Yep.
He was paying my rent and I wasn't going after my dream. He's like, "Listen," in a weird throw of his hands, "I'll pay your fucking rent. You want to be a rich party boy? I'll pay your rent your whole fucking life. And just amount to nothing. Dude, that's fine. I fucking ruined you." I've talked about this speech a number of times on this podcast, so I'll save anyone who's heard it before, but basically said, I fucked up. You're nothing. You'll never be anything. You have no humility. You don't know how to earn anything. You're a party boy, whatever.
Yeah.
And then I said, I thought you were going to say happy birthday to me. And he was like, I go, it's my birthday. He's like, I perjured myself in court today. The judge asked how you're doing. And I said,
I've heard you tell that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I said, how do I fix this? He said, you go to that club and you said you'll do anything to get on stage.
Whoa.
So I went over to the club that night on my 26th birthday. I did not go out and party for my birthday. I went over to the club. I went over to Louis Schaefer, and I said, I'll do anything to get on stage. And Louis said, move back to Florida. And so I went back. This is my rock bottom. I went back.
This is a good story,
the next day, called my dad, and I said, I told you that's not how it works. He goes, no, it is how it works. You're just not hungry enough. You don't know where your hunger is. You need to go back to that club, and you need to say the same thing to him tonight. And you need to tell him, I will be here every fucking single night of my life until you give me an opportunity.
Whoa.
And so I went back that night, and I said, hey, Louis, Bert Kreischer, I'd like to get on stage. I'll do anything to get on stage. And he was like, didn't I tell you to move back to Florida? And I said, listen, yesterday was my birthday. My dad gave me a fucking break-off speech. He told me I need to come here every night of my life until you give me an opportunity. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be here every fucking night. And I'm going to ask you every night if you can get me on stage. I will be a thorn in your and he just goes, fine. And he handed me a flyer. That was not the flyer at the time.
Yeah.
He handed me a flyer, which was very similar to that. And he said, hand these out. And if you can bring in 20 people in the room, I'll let you go on stage. I was like, for real? He was like, yeah, you'll go on right before Godfrey goes on, but I'll let you go on stage.
Holy
And so
shit.
I went out, and I had never barked. That night, Patrice O'Neal, Bobby Kelly, and Jim Norton were sitting outside, and I had just gotten
Patrice used to sit on the there was like a little
little
like
planter.
next
There was a little planter box out there. There was a stoop, and then there was a fire station next door.
Yep, he was still sitting there when I was there.
And so, and this beautiful girl walked by, and one of Patrice's favorite things to do was catcall.
Yep.
He's like, damn, bitch, you got a fat ass. And the girl was like, oh my God, and walked past him. And I'd never witnessed catcalling in my life. Because I grew up in Florida. The proximity just didn't work.
You guys just kidnapped women.
Yeah, we kidnapped them. Yeah, exactly. And so I said to Patrice, and by the way, I don't know Patrice.
Oh, God.
And I said, I'm handing out flyers, and maybe he had seen me around, but we didn't know each other.
Sure.
And I said, well, why would you say you have a fat ass to her? And he was like, bitch, that's how you hollered about, fuck. And I was like, I think Patrice, it would work better if you just ask them out on a date. And he was like, what? And Bobby and Jim are just giggling. And then this girl walks by. I go, watch. By the way, I'm fucking 26 years old.
Yeah.
And I go, watch. And so this girl walks by. I go, you look like you've had a really rough night. How about I treat you to a glass of wine? And she was like, huh? And they just start laughing ridiculously. She's like in a suit, looks like a lawyer.
Yeah.
She's older than me, but just beautiful.
Yeah, sure.
And she goes, no, and just kept walking. And Patrice goes, I told you that lame shit wasn't gonna work. And she comes back and she goes, you know what? I'm gonna take you up on that glass of wine. I'd love to have a glass of wine.
Whoa.
And I looked at her and I said, I can't. And she went, what? I said, I just got my dream job. I can't. And she went, what? And Bobby and Jim and Patrice were like, are you she's gorgeous.
Oh my God, Bert.
And she was like, they're like, what? And I go, I just got a job handing out flyers. I get to go on stage tonight. Like, no, this is my dream. Like, I can't. She was gorgeous. And she was like, okay. And she turned around and Patrice was like, bitch, I'll get you drunk. She's like, no thanks. And kept walking. And so
I've never heard that part of the story. Holy shit, that is so good.
So I got on stage that night. I got on stage early because Karen Bergreen got on, and there were these 4 Puerto Rican guys. One of them was going to prison the next day. Of course I had brought them into the club. I would bring in everybody to that club. Yeah. I would bring in everyone, and especially NYU kids, because they were like, do they ID? And I'd be like, I'm the guy checking IDs, so no.
Nope.
And so we'd all underage drinkers.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
This leads into an interesting story of why you barked at that club.
Okay, yeah.
Okay?
No, this is
I'll explain to you, and I explained this to Pete Holmes,
who I barked with.
So I would fill it with NYU kids, and that night I filled it with these 4 Puerto Rican guys, one of which was going to jail. And I was like, we'll get you fucked up, cheap drinks. Go to the Bagot after that. There's chicks down there.
Yeah.
And Karen Bergreen comes off stage, and she is crying. And they just heckled the fuck out of her. And Louis Schaefer sticks his head out the door and he goes, you want to be a comic? You're up right now.
Holy
and I go
shit.
on stage, these four guys that I had brought in, free tickets, and they liked me, but they started heckling. And one guy said, son, and all I remember saying was, I go, hey, in my act, when it says the stupid Puerto Rican talks, I'll point to you. And the place went nuts.
Holy shit.
And his buddy goes, hey, and I go, I'm sorry, your bike's still outside with the delivery you're supposed to be taking on it. And I've been watching it this whole time, and I'm done. So I'm not out there. You might want to go get on your bike and finish your delivery. And everyone laughed, and these guys got pissed, and they got up and left, and the crowd went nuts. And I was like, yeah. And then I didn't have any jokes. couldn't tell a joke. I didn't have a joke. And I got off stage, and Lewis was like, you're good. You got a job. Every night, be here at 7. You'll open up the club with me. We'll put the tables together, and then you can go on, and I'll give you like $20 at the end of every night.
Holy shit.
So then now mind you, by the way, I apologize if I'm being I'm telling my stories on my podcast.
No, I'm very into this.
So then I was filling it with NYU kids. I'd bring in the same probably 30 kids every night.
Yeah.
And they loved it. They're getting to see Chappelle and fucking Talent and fucking DC Benny, Jordan Rubin, Bobby Kelly, Pete Corielli, Judah Friedlander, Dave Chappelle, Dave Attell, fucking Jim Brewer, Jay Moore. Dude. They're getting to see these fucking amazing acts, and they're getting drunk, and no one's carting them, and they know they're not getting arrested. They have a free place to drink. And then I'd go on. They loved me. I was the guy that got them in for free.
Yeah, of course.
Got them hammered. We'd all go to the Baggett. They're only a few years younger than me, and we'd all party until the fucking sun came up. And it was all almost like these kids would come by every fucking night. Hey, can we go in? I'm like, yep. And
the Baggett, dude, I've never been more nostalgic. I have not talked about the Boston.
Patrick from the Baggett Inn. I miss that guy.
I got into a bar fight my first night working at the Boston. Some dude just fucking charged me, and I like flipped him over my shoulder, and he landed hard on the ground. And then I looked up, and Carson Daly was like sitting there with the dude, and both of us were just like, hello, Mr. Daly. And then we shook hands, and then we got drunk together. Like me and
So
magic.
Time Out New York. That picture right over there.
Yeah.
Party's over.
Yeah.
Time Out New York. Here's that they come down to the club. This guy, I forget his name, John, is written up there, and he sees that I'm murdering at the end of the night.
Yeah.
And he was like, I read your article in Rolling Stone. I want to write an article about you. And I was like, great. And so he writes this article about this guy who's just whatever. Now he's this one guy. Now he's a stand-up comic, and it's working. Will Smith's company sees that. That article comes out, I think, on Tuesday. Will Smith's company sees it Wednesday.
Jesus.
I get a phone call Thursday that I'll be performing Friday night for his company.
Oh my God.
I perform Friday night, and I get a 6-figure deal.
Jesus Christ.
I'm working the door, okay? I'm working the door.
Yeah.
And Barry's like, Papa, I think you got to keep working the door. I think this is a story. I mean, my door guy, I got my door guy a fucking deal.
Yeah.
Can you fucking believe that? So he put my face on the flyer.
Yep.
And he was like, this is fucking amazing, Papa. So I go to LA. I have a deal. I moved to LA. I'm staying at the Universal Sheraton for 7 months.
And this is all within a year?
6 months of doing stand-up.
Holy shit, Bert.
I get a deal 6 months in. It's fucking across the board. People hate me, but if you're younger, you're like, shit, I got to get a job working the door.
Yeah.
So I go to LA. I go on tour with Patrice and Voss and Ben Bailey in Scotland. We do the Fringe Festival.
Yeah.
I come back from that, and by the way, I can only get on stage if I work the fucking door. I have a fucking deal.
Still, right.
And so I go back, and I go to work the door. And by the way, I'm probably past. I go to work the door, and there's 7 kids working the fucking door. And I'm like, I come back, and by the way, I don't think I went to work the door. I think I'm exaggerating. But I go back to the Boston Comedy Club after a year in LA, a tour in Scotland. I did a showcase in LA, and I got a TV show and another deal. And I come back to New York, and there's 7 kids working the door. And I go back in the corner, and one of them's like, bro, you're the reason I'm working the door. You got a deal? How do you get a deal? Like, what did you do? What did you do?
How do you get a deal?
And because I got a deal working the door, all of a sudden that became an avenue in. Like it's like they say, once you see the path in the grass, everyone sees the path in the grass. Right. You got to be the one that you didn't see the path.
See, I was fucking resentful. I didn't get the Bert story. I would stand on the corner across from that.
It was the mentality of the time is that everyone, Ben Bailey and Jordan Rubin and Judah Friedlander took me out to but drinks down the street one night and said, don't work the door. It's not the way to get into this business.
Yeah.
You're going to be looked at as a door guy, and no one's going to ever think you're a real comic. And then I got a deal, and everyone worked the fucking door.
That's so interesting. Yeah, I was definitely like the bitter dude who was like, I used to like throw out my flyers on the corner, and then go down to the cellar and watch. I remember like my first week was when I saw Attell at the cellar. I was supposed to be handing out flyers, and I snuck down to see Attell, and I will never forget this joke. This must have been 18 years ago. Oh no, it was when Insomniac was big. Yeah. Because they introduced Dave Attell. It was the first time I went down to the cellar. No, me and my dad saw Chappelle there. It was the first time I went to the cellar by myself for just like a regular show. Mm-hmm. And they go from Insomniac, and everyone like freaks out. Is very happy. Dave Attell gets on stage, and he goes, so did you guys see Miss America last night? And everyone's like, woo. And he goes, or as I like to call it, night of 1,000 cunts. Bombs, nothing. And he goes, oh, I'm sorry, too offensive. Night of 100 cunts. And he just lowered the number.
Night of 100
And
cunts.
I was like, you're the best comedian on
He's the greatest. I could do a podcast where I literally was thinking of doing a podcast where people just told their favorite Attell stories.
He was the first guy I asked advice for, which was a mistake. He also, I think, was the reason I got into Montreal, where he was at my stand-up New York, because the only time I would play clubs is when I got auditions, because I wasn't passed at any of them. So I did my Montreal audition, or my callback at stand-up New York, and he just went right up to Robbie and was like, you're going to use him, right? Like, and I was like, oh, like, holy shit. Like, and, but this first night I went to the Stress Factory, and Attell was there, and it was my first comedy show, and I specifically wanted to see Attell, and I knew I wanted to do comedy. And I was like, oh, I know what I do. I sit in the front, and then he sees me, and then we become friends, and he takes me on the road with him. Like, all done. Yeah. That's how you become a comic.
Easy peasy.
And so I was smoking cigarettes. You can still smoke. And he bummed cigarettes. I was like, I'm the guy he's bumming cigarettes from. So I was like, fucking, this is even easier than I thought it would be. We already have like a repertoire. He used to have this line. I don't know if it was stock or because I smoked American Spirits, and he was like, I'll trade you for them, like some like Indian chip. Yeah. And so I go up to him in the back. He's just sitting in the back of one of the like round tables of the Stress Factory smoking. And I was like, hey man, I was like the guy with like the cigarettes, and do you have any advice to start stand up? And he goes, sit in the back. And that was it. It was quiet. Which, by the way, the most logical advice I've ever got. Yeah, comics sit in the back. But that was it. That was my advice.
That's my problem with like the outrage culture and progressiveness, is that David Attell is easily one of the most insightful, heartfelt, sweetest guys in the world.
Yes.
Yet what he talks about on stage completely fits into the outrage agenda. Yeah. Like the things he's said on stage are sometimes
God, he would get crucified. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason where he's like I'm fucking done. I don't want to be a part of this. You're making it no fun.
He's still like, but we'll do like clubs to like his audience, though, right?
He's doing clubs. He's still doing clubs. Me and Tom did a podcast. Sugar did a podcast with him, and part of him was like, I'm fucking done. I got one more special, and I'm fucking done. I'm out. This is your fucking torch to carry.
Oh, Jesus.
And both of us, and Tom definitely has gone on with that. Tom does not give a fuck.
Dude, I saw him for the first time like live at the Ice House trying out new stuff. It was incredible. Him and D'Elia are Teflon. Yeah.
They just don't care.
Yeah.
They're just young enough that they are part of that culture and they realize it, but they don't give a fuck. Like D'Elia tweeted a guy today. He was like, and that's why I'm a millionaire comic. And the guy was like, oh, dude, the fact that you even replied to me means you're a fucking loser. And D'Elia's like, no, bro, I enjoy doing this. This is what I enjoy. If you see a guy hitting tennis balls, do you make fun of him? No, I'm just hitting tennis balls with you, bro.
Jesus.
Or whatever he said. But I was like, fuck yeah, I don't do that.
No, I can't.
If I come back at somebody and say something shitty and then they come back at me, I'm like, oh, fuck.
Oh, I meant to tell you that. So on Twitter now, you can set it to, if you like still want to talk to your friends and shit, this is what I do. You can set it to, you only see replies from people you follow. So literally anytime I get a tweet, it's just going to be good news. It's going to be one of my like friends or a famous person.
Ooh, that's pretty nice.
And then the other thing you can do, which is if you still want to see some of your fan stuff.
It's kind of like living in a white neighborhood, though.
A little bit. So what I did now, so I changed it to.
I don't know what you're talking about. Crime. Really, the internet
is really good. You can change it to only people who follow you, because usually the people who are just going to randomly shit on you don't follow you. Mm-hmm. So I have it set now so it's just people who follow me that I see, so I can still like talk to people or whatever. But yeah, it's the move.
Let's see if I got.
What the fuck was I gonna say? Tell man, yeah.
Tell's the best. I'm getting a lot of tweets. Oh shit.
God, if he stops.
Oh, dude, I hope you're okay. Oh, it's because I tweeted Leanne tearing out. By the way, now I'm looking at. Fucking. Why? This is what's unhealthy. Is fucking Segura tweets something shitty about me, and then people
don't read the comments.
People like know that he reads them and they make him laugh, and so then they all just fucking
double
pile
down.
on.
Yeah,
and then I'm like,
that always happened to me, where it's like someone would like call me like a fag, and then like at like Joe, and it's just like Joe's probably not going to see that and take you on the road with him, right? Like
yeah. I'm like, I felt it was one time this guy like lights me up before Segura, and I'm like, and then I was like, hey man, do you realize like he's my best friend? Like
you're not, like all the time. He's like my family, bro.
He's gonna call me tonight, and I'll bring this up, and he'll not like you immediately. Like you're a fucking idiot. Like and by the way, and they did that to Segura. When we did the fast shaming, some people were like, this is too far, Tom. I feel like going, no, he's my friend. Right. This is my friend. Like, enjoy us being friends and fucking with each other. Yeah. And enjoy and you can shit on me and you can shit on him. But it better be in good spirits. Once you get mean, both of us are going to be like, fuck you, and we'll both block you.
I mean, I've started to be, as someone who's been on like the other end, like whenever I get shit now or I see people on Twitter, I'm just like, I know for a fact how fucking miserable you are, and I'm just gonna sort of feel bad and like walk away. Because once you start to obsess about like, who the fuck does this? Why doesn't he fucking say it to my face? Like, dude, I've had phases where I'll be like, I will give you the address to my gym where you can literally sign a waiver and we can fight. And then I'm just like, what am I doing? Like, I just need to go like live my fucking life.
There was a guy who I got into a dust up with.
Yeah.
And I all I know is that I tweeted something shitty back to him, but I was drunk, and and he came at me, and then a bunch of his friends or fans came at me, and I was like, why did I do that? That was shitty, and I apologized, and he apologized back. Yeah, and me and him were cool, and then his next tweet after our apology was like. Was the next morning, and he was like, I've been off my meds for about a week now, and I just don't feel a point in living. And I was like, that's who I interacted with. Yeah. Like I interacted with someone who's going through mental health issues, which I'm not going to stigmatize that, but it definitely is not a sane place to argue from, either perspective, me to him, and definitely not him to me.
Well, and also like, imagine like, I mean, that's a huge point. I mean, that's where I was when I got all these like Twitter storms and stuff, and like having that moment. And again, maybe this is narcissistic to even think like people are thinking about me. Man, the best thing anyone ever said to me was that like all the time.
I know this statement. Bertcast said this to me. Keep going.
Where you think they're thinking about you and they're not. They're thinking about their own shit.
Yep. Bertcast, I bombed one time and I was like, I need to get back on stage. I need to get back on stage in front of those executives. And he goes, Papa, I think you're highly overestimating how often people think about you.
Yeah, man.
He's like, who have you been thinking about all day? And I said, me. And he went, that's who they're thinking about.
Dude, totally. I walk into a club and I'm like, everyone's going to think this about me.
No one even notices.
No, or they're nice.
Yeah.
And then here's another thing. When you get into Twitter, like me and you disagreed fundamentally at the time on like the Tosh thing. If we just fought on Twitter, knowing what we know now, knowing that we have so much shit in common, knowing that we would become like good friends, that like we have all these like weird insecurities that we like line up on, no fucking way. It would just be like this dumb, neither of us would see any humanity in the other person, and that's what fucking happens. And now that like being off it and being forced to interact with comics who I thought fucking hated me, dude, I'm like such a fan of Moshe, like hearing him on podcasts.
He's great.
And I just assumed he hated me for either reason. I'm like, oh, you could be in either camp that hates me. You could be in the progressive camp that thinks I'm a fucking creep, or you could be in like the camp that thinks Joe still doesn't like me. And I saw him the other day at the store and he was like, hey man, I heard you're doing like roast battle like Skankfest. And I was just like, I really like your stand up. Like, and it's just like,
are you doing roast battle Skankfest?
I'm doing it against Nick Mullen, who used to harass the shit out of me on Twitter.
Really? So that's awesome.
Someone bailed. I saw Lewis tweeting, someone bailed. I've never done a roast battle, but someone like canceled on Nick and they were like, oh, he's too afraid. And I was like, fuck it. And I just sent like a bunch of like sunglass emojis and Lewis like texted me frantically. He was like, are you going to do like, like we were like known as like enemies.
Really?
Yeah, I've never met the kid. I heard he's actually very nice. But he used to just harass the shit out of me on Twitter, and I was like, yeah, fuck
you should
it.
do some roast battles in LA while you're like leading up to
almost warm up.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I don't know how to.
Just hit up Brian Moses.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So when you see Brian at the store, say, hey man, I'd love to get on some roast battles. I'll introduce you. Like Tuesday nights is when I see Brian is when they're there.
Yeah.
That's when I'm normally doing spots. I'm taking the week off
Yay.
for mental health reasons. I'm right now. I'm just burnt. I get burnt doing jokes I know that work.
Yeah.
Meaning like I just go, I lose my enthusiasm about them.
Yeah, that actually happened to me last week, and I was like, was this joke ever good? And then I'm like, no, I just think they can tell I don't give a shit.
Yeah, and so I don't want to go to the store and just do the same mashup of what I'm doing right now. And I want to write more, and the store is not sometimes it's for me it's a fine place to write.
Yeah,
but things are so hot there right now that you're like that even part of you is like, fuck, let me just write on the road.
Yeah,
but mostly I was like, I don't want to do spots. I want to relax. I want to enjoy the girls. I want to be a dad, full blown week. Dude, and then I'm doing Cluster Fest this weekend, so I'll do a show Sunday.
Yeah, that's why I wrote you and I'm like, hey, are we still doing the podcast? Because you look like you were just having such a wonderful vacation that I'm like, I don't want to make you have to fucking podcast the next day.
I'm being dead serious when I say this. I've been looking forward to talking to you on the podcast. I enjoy you as a person. I enjoy you as a comic. I enjoy your insights in the world. You've and this is an overstatement, an over simplification of what you've been through, but it's almost like you've been through social war. Like you've seen things that other people don't see, and you've had insights on things that I think a lot of us, including myself, don't have.
Yeah.
And I think you're a super valuable voice right now.
Thanks, man.
And I think for you, I think that you're just getting from going to where you went, from being from where you've been and going to where you've been, and now where you're going right now. I'm like I said, in a weird way, I'm not jealous. I wouldn't want to ever have to have walked a mile in your shoes this past year or 2 years. But man, I do look at it and I enviously and I go, man, great things are to come if you do this the healthy way.
Yeah.
The healthy way.
Yeah.
Great things are to come.
I hope so, man. And like, and I'll finish the circle jerk and say it about you. I remember when I was thinking about doing Doug's show, Sarah Klegman, who used to work for your management company, was letting me like crash on her couch, and we were talking about you. I think she like set up the Amsterdam, but she was with Levity, and she was at the Amsterdam show, and I was like, man, Bert's going to be there. And I was like, I want to read. You were the first podcast I started listening to when I was like, I want to get back into comedy. And it made me like comedy again, because even in those alt rooms and, there still is some of that like open mic posturing shit that happens where it's like, we don't laugh at this person, or we're shitting on the popular guy, like everyone will like, let's shit on Dane Cook because he's like the popular guy, or let's shit on whoever. And, I think what I loved about your show the most is just like, you just love comedy.
Oh yeah.
And actually this is very esoteric, but my jiu-jitsu coach, Joe talks about him a lot. This guy, Marcelo Garcia, my first coach in New York, like the best in the world, just tiny guy, beating at everybody, like Damian Maia, Shield, like the best people in the world. He's just walked through. And someone interviewed him once and they're like, what makes you the best? And he's like, I love jiu-jitsu more than anybody. Like, it wasn't like I work out this hard, like my diet. He doesn't do it. He's like,
so funny you say that. It's so funny you say that. I have been chewing on a thought since yesterday. That is, because I've always shit on hard work.
Yeah.
I've always shit on hard work and expressed that luck is what gets you there.
Sure.
But then yesterday, I had this real weird epiphany in that I work insanely hard, but I've never looked at it as work.
Right.
So like, I really don't see it as work. So like, I look at, like when I lost weight, I was from unhealthy brain habits, but when I got in shape, it was from hard work. Right. I can see that because it looks like work to me.
It's work. You're sweating.
Comedy is not fucking work. I am online all day when it comes to comedy podcasts. Thinking of thoughts. All I'm doing right now is thinking of a funny thing to shoot, or my brain's always going about comedy. I probably work harder at comedy than any comic in the world, I could say, because I never stop doing comedy.
Right.
I have no hobbies. I have no habits. I just think comedy 24 hours a day. I think comedy podcasts. I think about my business or whatever I do all day long. I'm obsessive about it. But I don't look at his work. I go, well, what else would I do?
Yeah, man. Oh, when like the Comedy Store will like post them on their Twitter, like, you know, look at these guys, like look at the dedication. They did the 3 rooms in one night. It's like, oh, you mean the fucking dream? You mean literally walking the stairs to do your dream? Like, fuck yeah, that's amazing.
You know how much fun it is to go to the Comedy Store and do work?
Just pop up.
You know what work for me is not doing stand-up.
Yeah.
Like this week will be work. Spending time with my family will be legit work for me to be like, all right, so we're not doing anything crazy. I got no punch to the end of the day. I don't get to go out to the fucking patio and take a one-hitter off my PAX vape pen and giggle with fucking Hinchcliffe or Red Band or Tommy or fucking anyone.
Just before you go to bed, make them all clap for you.
I get no applause break. No one comes up and says they want a picture with me. No one's Triple E doesn't pull me aside and go, I like the new bit and I feel verified. I don't tell a new bit and then wake up in the morning excited. Like, so you're telling me I won't get that this week. This will be hard work. But I know what I'm doing.
Oh, it's great. I almost didn't say it because I'm like, who wants to hear a fucking jiu-jitsu comedy analogy?
But it's so true because I don't think like guys like, I don't think Eddie Bravo looks at jiu-jitsu as work.
No, man.
I think he goes, you definitely, there's parts of stand-up that's a job that where you go, I definitely, like when I wake up at 6 a.m. and have to fly, that's where I go, okay, this is a job.
Can I tell you though, man, even when I was doing it, and again, maybe this is because like I lost it all, but I remember, and I haven't talked to him, I tried to shoot him an email, but I remember featuring for Eddie Ift at Go Bananas. And I remember that fucking plane ride. I remember that like extended stay hotel they put you up at. I remember getting shots bought for me, like Eddie and I like traveling to another city to like meet some girls like afterwards, and like we probably shouldn't have been even in a car, and just being like, this is what comedy is. Dude. And like I like the airports, I like even that stuff. I'm like, oh, I'm still getting paid to go do the thing. I mean, I don't now, I will again, but yeah, that shit, man, it's like, it's kind of it's the fucking dream. It is. And to have that and this life too, man, like you figured it out.
I got into an excursion, a Ford Excursion limousine the other morning at like 6 a.m. after not sleeping. After literally getting done my meet and greet at 2 a.m, going and hanging out until 3, going to the hotel, packing, sleeping for 30 minutes, getting up, not feeling good, getting in the back of an excursion Escalade, and there's still a part of me that goes, oh, neat car. I can't believe I get to ride in this.
Yeah, man.
And then I'm flying first. Oh, you know what? We'll have a cocktail at the airport. This isn't going to be that bad.
Yeah.
I can't wait. Well, Ben, hey, thank you for doing the podcast.
Dude,
let's do another one in like a month.
Always.
And just keep in touch.
I'd love to. Yeah, do mine.
Yeah, I'd love to. I would absolutely love
to. Can I be honest with you? I was too nervous I didn't know if you'd want me on your podcast, so I totally thought we were doing my podcast today.
Oh, no.
And so I'm like, I brought my little laptop and my computer, and then you set up the mic, so I'm like, oh, I'm doing Bert's podcast. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, no, of course. I always want you on my podcast.
Ooh, can I plug my podcast?
Please.
So it's called the Jamie Kilstein Podcast. You can subscribe to it for free on iTunes and Stitcher. And yeah, it's great. It's really not political. Like even like I had like Moby on, who's so political, and all we did was talk about like our insecurities with women, and like Kat Von D's doing it, and now I'm having a ton of comics on. Triple E was my first guest.
He's great.
Triple E was my first guest the night he did mushrooms, and he was just yelling at me, "You're a comic now. You're free. You're a comic." So yeah, I just talk about all this bullshit and insecurity, and the fan base is cool. So it's just Jamie Kilstein Podcast.
Fuck yeah, bro. I'm very happy for you.
Oh man, thank you so much.